I'm not speaking Spanish this time. We're not... I don't even know Spanish. I deeply apologize for last week. Anyways, back to English this time. 3, 2, 1. Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. It is the Biendeo stream today on this fine 12th of May 2025. I hope you're having a wonderful week, and we'll have a wonderful week ahead of you. My week has been nice and chill, but you get that little bit of existentialism of like, man, is it too chill? Am I doing things right? I don't have things to worry about. Is there something going on? But no, I'm getting there. I'm getting all good. So that's all good. Let's hop into the game today, shall we? Here we go. Woo! Easy money. But yeah, no, we're continuing with Dragon Quest 3 today. Dragon Quest 3 being, well, this is the Game Boy Color release, so Dragon Quest 3. It's had multiple re-releases, including a PC and Switch and maybe other consoles, probably the PlayStation 4 and 5, release end of last year. But yeah, no, last week was the beginning of the game. We got up to Romali at level 8. Or rather, we didn't just get to Romali. I'm pretty sure we got to the next town of was it Koriv? But unfortunately, I am a wuss, and also I have a jester. Rags, so here's our party right now. We got Biendeo the hero, Air the cleric, Nyx the thief, and Rags the jester. And unfortunately, I gave Rags the whip, but I think I kind of need everyone to have a whip on them. But yeah, no, it's been nice and chill. We'll sort of just, you know, proceed back north and remake some progress and maybe get a few levels and bits of gold along the way. I think I sort of called it at the 3-hour mark. I was like, yep, you know, we're getting there. But definitely, I'm caught out without whips right now because of my other attackers don't deal enough damage. The cleric probably shouldn't be attacking every turn, but in the early game, you know, you don't really have many abilities at all. In fact, honestly, like, a thief, I don't know, the thief should probably start doing more damage, because the thief doesn't get spells. But, you know, we're getting there. The hero, unfortunately, is sort of like your jack of all trades of everything. I guess can't steal anything, but Rags is a dead weight for the moment. We'll get there. And I wasn't abusing health or anything. High vitality is a very easy way to wing a lot of the early game, but we're not doing that. We're taking it very honest. We're just going, hey, here's what the character is. Let's just roll with it, and let's see what we get. But no, things are pretty chill. Things are pretty good and chill. So that's all good. I played a bunch of games this past week, and also on top of that, we got a lot of news. We got a lot of things, at least a good number of things to talk about. So I feel like the very controversial bits of news you never want to mention in the first few minutes of a YouTube stream. Unfortunately, most YouTube videos, I think 4 minutes is probably fine. We're only, you know, we're in the 4th minute of the YouTube VOD, but we'll pad it out with a bit of another topic for the moment, and that is the RTX 4060 is coming out next week. I think it's on the 19th in the US. Maybe it's the 19th in Australia next week. But that will mark... Also, there's a little shrine here. I don't think there's anything you can do... Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, it's not just a shrine. It's the place that I've already visited. You know, the TNT board. Oh boy, we got a bit of a... We got a situation here. Conductor, we have a problem. I might get there. I mean, the place isn't too far away. We need to get rid of this crab. We need to get rid of everything, really. Yeah, you might need to heal Nyx. I feel like Nyx is quite vulnerable in this fight. And Rags, keep attacking that caterpillar. Thanks, Rags. Appreciate it. Oh, big attacks. I hate big attacks. Oh. But it's because I just don't have any defense. I'm gonna double heal on this one. We're gonna stack. We're gonna hope for the best. I don't think there's... Oh, maybe. Okay, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. But yeah, no, let's talk about GPUs. We're sort of... Ow. We're sort of at the end of the big release of... Well, actually, I say we're at the end of the regular big release of graphics cards, but we've sort of hit an odd point where... I love how Biendeo needs another bit of healing here. We're at a bit of an odd point where I'm not too sure where the markets lie when it comes to graphics cards. And I feel like maybe to... How do I put it? Everyone calls them graphics cards, like we know what they're selling. It's, you know, a card that displays graphics out. It's kind of in the name. But there's a lot of use cases out of graphics cards these days. And every time we get it mentioned, it's always just like, okay, like what do we... You know, what's the... You know, what is someone using it for? For a little bit, they used to be crypto miners. And I think we hit that point very quickly when ASICs started to overtake it by far. And now we're at this point where, like, ASICs sometimes aren't even worth it. But usually a lot of very specific hardware that really has lots of, you know, high... I don't know, it depends on the load, but sometimes high integer workflows or really high memory throughput seems to benefit the crypto mining a lot more than other cards. Generally, Nvidia wasn't the happiest about crypto miners, like, clamping down on cards, because they knew that, you know, they would just absolutely tank the value of the cards itself. So I'm gonna go for the butterflies here. I don't trust anything else here. But nowadays, you know, it's AI as the buzzword, but I'm just gonna proceed to use machine learning as the phrase for everything. Now it's all that. That's the craze. Certainly, I think machine learning is going to last, and the reason why I say that is because I studied it, like, 8 years ago, and in university, and it's just like, yeah, like, the strategies that we're doing have, you know, are eternally relevant. That idea of reinforcement learning is very, very relevant, over and over. We're gonna keep making some money, because I do want a second whip at the very least. I don't think I need another one for the cleric, but I do want just a second whip. Let's see if... Ooh. Good stab. Good stab. And we'll just get some experience while we're at it, but... But yeah, the strategies are eternally relevant. The problem that I think a lot of people on the internet have is that, like, they are rightfully a little narrow-minded in the sense that they want to buy a card that does the same things that they've always done but better for a more worthwhile price. That's always the thing. And, unfortunately, the graphics cards right now have been very stagnant in prices. I think the price of a graphics card at the height of, or at the early, you know, COVID days, before Ampere came out, has sort of been the stationary price for a graphics card over time. I think the 4060 was generally an okay card from Nvidia's standpoint, and certainly AMD, there's been a lot more competitive cards. Also, Caterpillar. AMD's definitely had some competitive cards. I also think that the Intel Arc Alchemist pricing was actually really solid here in Australia. We used to be able to get one of those cards for, I think, the A770 for like $350 Australian, which is like, I don't know, 200 US, maybe not 200, 220. Like, it was really well priced. Not the 16 gig version, unfortunately, just the 8 gig. But still, that card is really good for what it does, and especially for video encoding. It actually was kind of really good at the time. Because remember, that was before the Ada generation came out. So, but yeah, that ended up not lasting too long. Just because, yeah, you know, high prices, and then scarcity comes in here and there. Usually it's because of the supply of producing these cards. It's getting a bit better in the past month, But definitely for the release of the Blackwell generation and RDNA 4, and then also Battle Mage also came out roughly the same time. Every single one of those came out of the exact same factory, which was TSMC. I forgot the specific fab number, but they have one fab for all their 5nm and also the 3nm. Apple's chips are also coming out of the same place. And yeah, no, it's chaotic. So they all, they're all funneling out of there. There's only a limited, supply of them over time. Also, the freaking paralysis. I hate it. We got one of them. And Rags is getting some hits, so it's getting a little better. Rags has been dreadful in attacking, though, I tell ya. And then the moment I start calling it out, it's like, oh, it's getting better. It's getting better. Yeah, this might be worth a rest if we've got 2 party members paralyzed. Whichever one is the inn, that's the church. I probably wandered straight past it. There we go. Hello, welcome to our inn. Thank you, my man. Thank you. But yeah, the price of the cards for the performance in games, because a lot of Reddit is very used to, and especially, like, the kind of people who have been on Reddit and video for, ages are most likely gamers, and not suddenly all the AI researchers who have come in the past, like, couple of years. It's like, no, it's mostly that. And not to say that, like, there haven't been people researching machine learning and all that stuff in, for years already, but it's just more, I don't know. I think it's the kind of camp. So a lot of people who are talking about this in certain communities, and especially the ones that we'll see a lot, when you get your reviewers, your Gamers Nexus, your Hardware Unbox, they seem to be the big two. They'll focus a lot on that traditional gaming use case, and that is fine, because it's very hard to convince someone to do something else, you know what I mean? Like, there's no... how would I put it? It's not your problem that suddenly, like, these cards do more than just game, but you don't use it for the non-gaming stuff because it's a wildly different use case. It's like realizing that, like, knives can be used to power, like, space rockets. And it's like, I'm not going to tell you, oh, go out and buy a space rocket because you're not using your knives to your fullest potential. It's like, nah, man, whatever, like, maybe if you do it, sure. But it does mean that people who have space rockets will suddenly buy knives, and I know knives and space rockets is a weird analogy, but like that's the point. That's how weird it is that it's suddenly a bunch of people are going to start buying your product because your product does what they, like, does something really nicely for their use case. And unfortunately, every single, producer of these cards realizes that and goes, well, why don't we jack up the prices a bit? Because we can, because more people are buying them, so it makes sense to shoot up the prices. And that's sort of where we are. They've priced the cards in such a way that they are still, they're selling out. That's sort of the limit. There's no point pricing it less if your cards are already selling out, because it's not like you are stopping your competitors too hard. If you undercut your competitors so hard that the fact that you are way cheaper causes people to not buy their cards, like to leave them sitting on shelves, that would be a problem. But unfortunately, no, people still buy, like, AMD, despite pricing their card significantly less than Nvidia, still proceed to see Nvidia's cards sell out. They can't do any better than that. They can't, outprice their competitor when their competitor is, like, selling out anyways. And that's okay, because it sort of means, okay, we'll just, in that case, maximize profits. Like, literally just run for, how can you price all these, graphics cards without, not selling out, I guess. And that's what they're doing. Does it suck? Yes, it does suck. Also, holy crap, man, every time I want to, like, do a fight, and it's just like, everyone constantly cops it. And I really want to buy that extra whip, but I feel like I probably need to buy the shield for everyone right off the bat. I think I might go for the shield, because legit, like, I'm just taking the hits when we get these group fights. Seriously, it's quite gnarly. Oh, don't kill me, don't kill me. Oh. That's painful. Anyway, so that's sort of like a recap story. Every single GPU release over the past, like, couple of years has basically been that story. Nothing has really been truly impressive in terms of what you get for price, except for maybe the 4090. That card was weirdly better value per frame than every other Ada card, which was very shocking, but it was because it was so overdone as a card. Way overpriced, sorry, way overpriced in terms of if you're playing just games. I don't know if $1,600 US, you know, 3,000 Australian, and holy crap, how expensive was it beyond that? I don't think any of that was ever worth it. I don't think games are that worth it to play with a card that expensive that ends up being more obsolete that quicker. You know, like the high end is usually always very expensive, but it seems that all the cards were kind of expensive. But yeah, you know, like, people did buy it, whatever, you know. 4090's past this. The 5090 is even more expensive, and I think it should be an even more absurd statement to say, hey, you want to buy it? But sure, whatever. People, again, are still buying it because they think that they're future-proofing, when I don't know how many people, for example, I guess a lot of people are still sticking with the 2080 Ti. But no one's, you know, say for example, no one's using a Titan RTX. I very rarely see anyone with a Titan RTX these days, because usually after 2 gens, which seems to be 4 years or even slightly more than 4 years nowadays, you know, that's, people are subbing out their cards, they're getting something else, and that's, you know, that's fine. I usually expect that, and sometimes you get into the lifespan of a part. It's usually about then, anyways. I mean, if you take good care of your graphics card, it should last a lot longer, but I don't know, a lot of people, it's like either a fan dies or start to get incompatibilities with software. Hopefully it's not degrading that quick. More than just a fan, you know? But yeah, like, I don't know, people sub out their cards that quick, and so I don't think it's really worth it to oversplurge on a card when, you know, like, it's not doing the things you want to do, you know. Sorry, if the card does what you're doing now, it's very hard to anticipate what's going to happen in the very, you know, like, distant future, I guess. The reason why I've gone through that kind of tangent is because I've probably had a very defensive position about the RTX 3060 Ti, and it's 8GB of VRAM, maybe not the 3060 Ti, the 3070 Ti, and it's 8GB of VRAM for a card that came out, did it come out in 2020, or was it early 2021? Point is that it's definitely been 4 years. It's been a while since the 3070 Ti, and really all the 3000 series cards has come out. But the 3070 Ti very famously got roasted a lot by particularly Hardware Unboxed. I think, was it Hardware Canucks? Also, I think made a similar statement. The 8GB of VRAM on the 3070 Ti would not be enough for games at some point, and they tested various examples that were at basically maxing out the settings, still at 1080p, but you're maxing out all the settings under the hood, well, not under the hood, but like the visuals of the game compared to other graphics settings might actually have reached a very diminishing return, because you don't know that, like, the card is... Sorry, not you don't know. I think there needs to be an analysis of at what point do the graphics not matter when you pump them up even further. You can increase shadow resolution all you want. It's like, at some point, you won't see the shadow resolution get any better, despite it actually doing better. You know, there's a lot of settings like that, so But they tested it with that and then went, oh look, there's some games that didn't work. I think the one in particular that they really showed not working was, I think it was Doom Eternal. Also, oh my gosh, the multiplying crabs. They showed Doom Eternal, and Doom Eternal, in particular, has a setting in the graphics, and Doom 2016 and the new Doom that's about to come out very soon. Has a particular graphic setting titled texture pool size, and I guess to you as a listener, if you know about like pools in terms of any kind of computer thing, pools are basically large memory buffers. They're like how much memory you want to allocate towards a big pool of stuff, and if you allocate more, well, generally it means the thing that has been allocated is going to perform better, but this will be at the cost of other things. In the case of Doom Eternal, also, woof, you only got rags there. In the case of Doom Eternal, this means more memory allocated towards storing textures in memory, or in graphics memory, without needing to swap them from disk. Whether this means lower resolution versions for LOD swapping. Also, I got a shirt. I should probably start selling shirts and things like that, shouldn't I? We are nowhere near the money. Maybe I should just go for the shields. Which I can only buy 2 at this point, but maybe it will help. Because the less damage I'm taking, the better. Absolute pain, I'll tell ya. Weapons and armor. Okay, I would like to buy that bronze shield. I mean, yeah, Nyx has defense. Isn't that shocking that Nyx has so much defense? It's just like, oh my gosh. And unfortunately, Rags can't do anything about it, so I'm sort of still stuff on Rags, but yeah, no, the chain whip would be very nice eventually, but we'll commit to the bronze shield. There we go. There you go, that'll help out a bit. Also, let's see, selling, just for a moment. Oh, nope, nope. Yeah, I'm not gonna need copper swords, I tell ya. It's picked up a lot of herbs, though. Goodbye, clubs. Don't need you. But yeah, no, we've had, I don't think anyone can equip the hat, actually. So, yeah, get rid of that. And, I think... more hats. Oh, more sword. Man! Maybe I should have been selling things in my bag. I didn't get any comments about it. No one told me off before stream, so that's okay. But yeah, basically, yeah, texture pool size increases the amount of memory needed for textures. It doesn't actually increase the quality of the textures. It is purely to just increase the amount of memory on the graphics card dedicated towards that. What ends up happening is that obviously, if you set it onto the use more than 8 GB of VRAM setting on a card that doesn't have 8 GB of VRAM, there's not enough memory for models or anything else really. Particles, other kinds of stuff that gets stored on the graphics card. Shaders, what else? I guess buffers as well. All that stuff gets a bit, you know, thrown on the wayside, which means the game either runs slower or looks worse in various other ways because the VRAM gets swapped out. And what happens when memory is limited is game specific. It really depends. Some games will crash. Some games will keep swapping in because it's really slow. Some games will swap in the memory as if it just wasn't there to begin with. I think Doom Eternal would go slow. They then use that point, and I know that's one example. I think there was another game that just, I think it was The Last of Us, and that game was horribly unoptimized at launch. But they use that as an example to say, oh look, VRAM is getting insane, and, you know, 8GB is not enough now, which is a shame for a 3070 Ti. I thought, and this would have been near the end of that card's lifespan, I just want to add as well. But I think the point was somewhat valid, was that we are seeing games start to use at least more memory, like much more memory than they used to. We're saying this about 8GB, but it's like, well, the generation before had 4 and 6GB cards. So the fact that we're, you know, spotting 8GB cards being a problem now is kind of like, oh, okay, you know, that's a bit of a step. But I did think, well, you know, the 3070 Ti had a decent run already. I mean, not like too long, but like, you know, it was doing fine on a good number of games already. And it seems like these are some very edge cases where pushing into 8GB seems a bit silly. But those review sites were somewhat on the money in spotting that VRAM requirements were going up in various ways. And now we're at this point where there's actually a bunch of games that don't run well on cards with 6GB of VRAM at all, let alone, you know, on the high settings, on the really high settings. Point is that we got to that point where, okay, so the 3070 Ti was a bit weak on that one. Then comes the Ada generation, and we have the 4070, which has 12GB, and the 4070 Ti, which has 12GB. Also, we had the supercards released later, where the 4070 Ti was based on the 4080 die, and it ends up being, having, thanks Rags. It ends up having, 16GB of VRAM, so it's got that. But the 4060 Ti still only had 8GB. But what they did was they released a 4060 Ti 16GB version, which has kind of clamshelled memory modules, allowing it to basically be the same chip, but then, you know, have more memory. So no more bandwidth, but just it's the same card, but with more memory. They released this for $100 more than the 8GB model, and a lot of people thought that was a bit of a scam because they're basically charging up the wazoo for a card just to not be terrible. And what you ended up seeing was, one, a good number of games at launch actually ran worse than the 3060 Ti because the memory was slower. They released GDDR6X versions of the 3060 Ti, and I actually found that card did better in quite a lot of games. And then on top of that, it was like, well, the few games that, you know, ran better on a 4060 Ti 16GB were most often the ones when they used more VRAM. Which was a bit of a, you know, like a, oh, okay, sure, kind of thing. Then we also had the 4060 that only had an 8GB version, and sure, okay, whatever. Now we have hit the Blackwell generation, and what we've got is the 5070 Ti has started off with 16GB, so it's using the same die as the 5080. The 5070, 12GB own card, and then 5060 Ti and the 5060, 8GB again with the Ti with a 16GB variant, although this time they're only charging $50 more instead of 100. And it's weird because it's using GDDR7, so it's not even that I assume the chips are, oh, they're plentiful now, there's tons of GDDR6. It's like, no, this is the new kind, GDDR7. You do get some nice things out of, you know, the higher memory bandwidth on GDDR7. I think that plays a bit nicer towards the cards, whereas I think the original 4060 Ti was a bit kind of snuffed because it had slower memory than late stage 3060 Ti's. I don't know, I have a big beef with that. But the point still stands, these cards are still using the same amount of memory. And my opinion on how much memory is needed in a card is generally, there's a lot more unoptimized games now. There are a shocking amount of them where they just do not work well. And whose fault is that? I think that's a lot of the game developers' kind of, you know, problem there. Also, we can get that whip, and we can rest, and we can actually see something else in the game. So Nyx can have this, which will really help. We can sell that knife. I don't need that knife anymore. You hold on to the knife, there you go. A knife! So anyway, so we should probably figure out where we're going from here. He's supposed to be holed up in a tower somewhere. So that's probably our objective, is to find some tower. Let's chat to some people. The village was put to sleep for angry... Oh, there's a sleeping village somewhere. So join us. Someone else point to exactly which direction you need to go in. Maybe this person chilling it up. Layouts, am I right? You might know. You don't know. That's okay. To the north is Noannual. Champagne Tower is in the west. I think Champagne Tower is where we need to go. To the west. Fortunately, I don't think it's that far, but it does involve a bit of walking again. So I'm gonna need to get used to fighting more enemies again. And I do have the escape spell, so we could just teleport back to, I think the town with the castle, actually. But we'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah, lots of games have incredibly high memory requirements nowadays, and that's starting to get a bit kind of problematic for cards like this. When the 3070 Ti came out, I was a bit like, you know, like, it seems fine. 8 gigs, you know, remember the 3080 only had 10, so I don't know why the 3080 is oddly exempt from a lot of conversations nowadays when it's like, well, it's not that much more, you know what I mean? Like the 4070, regular 4070, has more memory than the 3080. It has as much memory as a 3080 Ti. I know there was a late stage 3080 12 gig. A lot of people missed on that one, and I'm a bit saddened that card really did go under the radar, because that was arguably the best price card later in that generation. Here we go. Here's a tower. It wasn't too far. This is indeed a tower. I think we probably have... I think it's a quite like circular one. If you remember last stream, we did a tower already. We got these clouds, these gas clouds, and they do blaze it. We'll get rid of these guys, no probs. Nyx being able to whip people is gonna be quite a godsend going into the future, I'll tell you that. And there we go. Nice and easy. Gotta make sure I keep 8 MP just on hand. So I think if we go down from here, we'll hit a staircase, but if I just wander around the outside, we should be able to spot something. Oh. More killer bees. But yeah, now we're at the beginning of 2025, and we still have these kind of expensive cards that honestly, I think the 3070 Ti in Australia generally sat at maybe like $800 Australian. And we're seeing the 5060 launch at $580. And it's got the same amount of memory. It's still 8 gigs. We're on GDDR7 now, but we're still, although the 3070 Ti was 6X, wasn't it? I think it was. So we're starting to get to like this point where it's like, also very nice, very nice. Take out the gas clouds right off the bat. And then air's probably gonna cop it, so we'll just do a top up. There we go. No! Stop calling more crabs! I do not like you calling more crabs. Rag seems to just not do any damage at all, so thanks, Rags. Nyx is getting past that defense a bit, so that's getting a bit better. We're getting there. But yeah, no, these cards are expensive. The 5060 launching at 580 Australian dollars. The 5060 Ti, I think, is 720 or 820 for the 16 gig version. It's a lot of memory. Also, mana bat. Gotta watch out for the mana bats. Let's see how many bees I can take out with one swing. None. We're gonna need a second swing, unless Rags falls asleep. Oh no, she got a solid attack. I gotta stop misgendering my own party members. They're all women. It should be very easy for me. There you go. Mana bats aren't too bad. Okay. I haven't really made much progress, but I have made money if I wanted to buy another shield or something. Does Rags need any? Sure. Here we go, staircase. So I think... Yeah, now we're in the dark on this floor. I think if you go around south, because we still have an edge, it is a tower, but I think if you go around south, you'll hit a dead end, so... Oh boy, this is gonna be a fight for the ages. Let's see if we can take out the bees pretty quick again. There we go. Yeah, $820 for the 5060 Ti 16 gig is a lot of money, especially when in Australian markets you can just get a regular 4070 and it outperforms it. And it's got 12 gigs of VRAM, which means at least you are not hitting the 8 gig problem. I guess you're hitting 12 gigs, which will, you know, fall out sooner, but it's not. I hope it's not too much of a problem. I think there's a big problem where a lot of game devs have released lots of games that have been very inefficient. And what do you do about that? As a game player, the answer is, who cares? Don't play those games. Legit. If they're gonna run terribly, why support them? But they also somehow run on a console. On the Xbox Series S. Magically. Unless a lot of games run absolutely dreadfully on an Xbox Series S and no one reports it, because who the heck owns an Xbox Series S? Which has increased in price by $100 again, by the way. 100? Or is it 50? It's now at 850 Australian dollars for Xbox Series X. So every time I kept saying, oh, you know, a PS5, you know, a Switch 2 costs more than a PS5 discless, it's like, oh, not anymore. There we go, let's head in here. I think here we go. We're really enjoying this this team comp. I really like their killer bees. Ah! Very nice, self-damage as well. Oh boy, I'm really catching myself out on this one. Rags, you gotta attack. Thank you, Rags. We're only on the second floor, man. Thank you, Rags. Oh. Almost. But at least getting most of them will help out. Yeah, this is gonna get awkward for the next fight, isn't it? Because they're paralyzed and I haven't been holding on to... Oh, I've got just 2 antidotes. Oh. No, antidotes are for poison. What's the... Oh well. Yeah, no. Completely forgotten Moon Herb, was that it? Oh. Well, one Moon Herb, which is, enough to get Nyx out of it, at least. Okay. Now that being said, these cards are... I mean, they're not tremendously big improvements over Ada, but at the end of the day, if you're doing machine learning, there's a lot of really good cards out there, and in fact, the 16GB version of the 5060 Ti may actually make quite a bit of sense to you, if you're looking into that kind of stuff. Oh boy, by the way, where are we? We are around the outside here, and I think this is another complete dead end here. Oh, nope, there is a chest. Another bronze shield, in case I needed another one. Maybe I shouldn't have bought another one. That's okay. I'm just holding on to more. You can never have too many shields, I guess. Yeah, Nyx can hold on to it. There you go. It's a rogue knight. So how did I unparalyze between fights then? Like for Biendeo, how did that happen? Yeah, they hit a bit hard, but they usually don't appear in groups, these rogue knights, so it's not too bad. But yeah, if you do machine learning, these cards are actually pretty okay, and they're decently recommended for those scenarios, but I guess the question is, if you just play games, what do you do? Also, if you accelerate video, these cards are probably quite expensive, and anything slightly older is probably going to be quite fine. Also, Big Shroom and the Venom Worm. Which one do you trust more? I trust the Big Shroom to not kill me right away. I want to get rid of this worm. Oh, easy. Easy fight. Okay. Got his medal straight up. I think this is where we need to go. Oh, hi there. This tower has been home to many bands of thieves over the ages. Thank you for telling me about that. Time to use my whippers to attack clouds, because that's what whips are good for. It'll be really good once I get a boomerang, and then I don't even have to, like, think about who I'm choosing. There we go. But yeah. Now, oddly, you know, I guess, who do you blame for people thinking that, oh, these graphics cards, you know, should be well priced for gamers? Because honestly, I don't blame the gamers for thinking that when Nvidia keeps advertising all these cards to be amazing for gamers. And I know, you know, you can play them for games, but like legit, it's... You don't see them advertising the AI stuff on their website for the GeForce graphics cards. You see Nvidia advertising the, Also, This do be the edge of the... Oh, there we go. I was like, hold on. There we go. So I think here we just go around the outside and we should find ourselves... Oh, finding more mushrooms. He does hit kind of decently, that, that Big Shroom, I'll tell ya. But that was also Rags, who doesn't really have defense. So here we go. Enter the door. Up the stairs. Hey, look what just came in! We'd better go tell the boss! And then they walk off. So, okay. Fair enough. Your mate are here? That's good, but I'm nobody's to catch. Not you. Goodbye. I don't know what they expected. Oh, and they took the money! They took the money. They must have gone here. And then, you dodged me long enough. Beg for mercy. So now we got a sort of boss fight? I think it is a boss fight, technically. This is Kanda and his 3 individual goons. We'll probably attack the goons first, but it's annoying that they're not one group, because then, we're gonna, we have to hit them one at a time. I don't know how much health the goons have, but they probably do hit, yeah, they do hit a bit decent. This is gonna be an interesting fight if I can make it through. Or Rags can just die immediately. Yeah, that works. Rags is... Oh, snap, 31. Jeez. Yeah, Nyx still doesn't have any, ability. I don't think Nyx ever will get an ability as a thief, but... Well, there goes air. This fight didn't go the way I wanted it to at all, I'll tell ya. I assume they're not gonna let me run out of this one. But nah, not with my levels and not with my equipment. That doesn't seem to be the way to go. Oh, Biendeo, how could you die? I'll give you one more chance. Like always, Dragon Quest seems to be quite generous on the dying, but you do lose half your money. And I was holding on to a fairly decent amount of money as well just then. And if you die, you go back to the save, which in this case seems to be the last save point, not the only save point, so... Unfortunately as well, you lose half your money and everyone is dead, so you gotta pay the money to get them back, which is a bit painful. Probably the earlier in the game, the more painful it is, but for now it's just sort of painful. That is not the church. Where is the church hiding in this town? East side? East side. There you go. Surely you jest. But yeah. Also on top of that, Nvidia seems to not be really confident in these cards for gamers, because a lot of the 5060 Ti 8GB version and the 5060 don't have, they didn't give review copies of them. And on top of that, the 5060, which comes out next week, won't have drivers available to anyone who somehow does manage to grab a copy of it or grab a unit before the release. They're literally, it's not ready to even start testing until it's being sold in people's hands, which to me I find a bit ugh. I would prefer these cards to come out and have, like a bit of a soaking period with the reviewers. But at the end of the day, people should feel informed enough to go, don't buy it, there's no reviews for it. Why are there no reviews? Literally, Nvidia didn't give anyone any time to review it. Also, on top of that, you could probably just expect the usual 15% boost, or maybe even less, because it seems that usually what you can do is that you can roughly judge the difference in the generations between, like the number of cores, maybe the amount of memory. We have the 5060 Ti already, so we should be able to base a 4060 Ti compared to a 5060 Ti, and then probably roughly divide by cores and maybe clock, and then figure out how to get a 5060 out of that. What I'm probably expecting is just the usual 15% boost. I'm not expecting any miracles, I'm not expecting anything that massive, and I'm not expecting it to be good value. It really doesn't seem like it will be great value. You're probably going to want to wait until the prices drop a bit, which in the US doesn't seem to ever happen for Nvidia, which is a bit unfortunate. But here in Australia, generally they do, but they haven't. Nothing out of TSMC's 5nm fab has really had discounts until the past few months, and that includes Ryzen and Intel Arrow Lake processors, because they also came out of the same you know, the same fabs. It's an absolute chaotic situation. But they're getting there. They're getting there a little bit. So keep your eyes out for prices if you were looking forward to buying stuff. Or alternatively, just save up for a Switch 2, because as if that thing is ever going to go down in price ever. Seriously, the Switch 1 has barely even gone down in price. I don't think a Switch 2 is ever going to go down. Although the Switch, was it the Switch Lite? Is actually fairly okay priced. But yeah, most people will probably want to save for a Switch 2 at this point. Otherwise you won't be able to play Mario Kart. So, yeah, no, that's my big hardware stuff. There's not really anything too big otherwise in technology land. We're sort of at the end, although Computex is coming up this week. So maybe, I don't know, we'll see some high-end server stuff start to show up. I don't think Computex has as much for consumers, maybe in the mobile space. So maybe we'll have some more interesting mobile laptop announcement or things like that, but and if there's one thing nice about Nvidia's, I know I haven't spoken too much about AMD, so maybe AMD will actually announce some stuff. Or alternatively, will we get that elusive Intel Arc B770? I'm really longing for that card. I feel like it will be fairly okay. It's just the 580 is like, seems to be the one they're riding, and it's like, I don't know if that card's exactly the best or the most impressive. It had a herb. But yeah, in terms of, I haven't really been, dabbing a lot with, other kinds of, technology stuff recently, but I have, been, I think I mentioned it last week, I've been shifting around, my local lab, home lab stuff. I used to have, I had a Raspberry Pi with a bunch of Docker Compose stacks on it ages ago. And I slowly moved into a repurposed old PC, and then eventually into we might as well head to the, like, here to grind, but I'll see if, it's probably easy to jump out of the tower and then walk back, because these enemies probably aren't too gnarly. I think there was a weapon I could have gotten for the main dude as well, for Biendeo, which may help, but... Or I get the iron armors. We'll probably... Actually, let's double check with the shop just to know what I can get, but... I'm not sure if, I'm really quite capable of buying anything. Oh, definitely not with this money. But yeah. So, no chain spear, technically, sorry, chain whip, the spear will help. The iron armor will definitely help the main character. And other than that, just the scale shield? Oh boy. Which I think I will need for Rags, because Rags doesn't have anything. So I might stop and just grab that scale shield for Rags. Because Rags died so quick in that fight as well. We've gotten some levels under my belt, so these enemies probably shouldn't be as bad as they were at the beginning of the stream, but man, I am making a bit of slow progress on this one, I tell ya. I was fighting here already, and now it's like, now we're at the end of the, the first hour a bit, and it's like, how have I gotten? I've gotten a few levels, and I bought some armor, but we haven't yet actually defeated the villains at the moment. There you go. But yeah, no, I had just Docker Compose stacks for all the little things I had, and then eventually I realized, okay, the Raspberry Pi just isn't that useful when you're running too many things. Oddly, you get slowed down by the micro SD speeds probably way sooner than you would the ARM CPU, and it's not a very high clocking ARM CPU because it's without a heatsink, and the computer's powered literally via a USB-C port. I think it gets like at most like 15 watts. It's pretty chill. So no, I had a repurposed old computer, and then eventually I've now upgraded all that into, I use I think I use a Boss Game mini PC now, which has a Ryzen Zen 3 mobile processor in it. And the other one, I have a 5950X and a computer, which is very nice. So lots of cores, lots of memory available. The only thing I need to really do is leverage that. It's probably got way more space than I'm actually using right now, but hey, you know what? Like, 5950Xs were dirt cheap. They were in such good clearance. I got like mine for 440 Australian, which probably would have been in the like $280 US kind of territory. It's shocking how cheap like a 16-core processor was. And also, then you can just get 128 gigs of DDR4. I think I got it for 360, which was what, actually like 250 US or something like that. So if you're looking around the right places, you could probably do the exact same thing. You know, what do you get out of it? Well, you can run a lot of virtual machines, which is very good, very nice fun. And yeah, that's what I wanted to move into that. So about a year ago, I had installed Proxmox, and I was testing out how do you do Proxmox, and then you run a virtual machine of Ubuntu in that. So effectively, then you're running something quite, close to home, and then you run your Docker Compose stacks in that. But we've hit 3 levels of abstraction. We're like, okay, I've run Proxmox, which is virtualizing Ubuntu, which is then running Docker, which virtualizes something else. Maybe it's only 2 layers, but it's still like, should I be virtualizing that much? There are a lot of reasons why one probably should still use Docker anyways, and running it in a VM isn't the worst. The main reason why I didn't really like running Docker was it made my virtual machine that I wanted to do backups and other things on very massive. I needed to effectively configure Ubuntu in the virtual machine to do what I wanted it to do, as opposed to as opposed to just like, oh, I could just leverage it out of Proxmox. The whole point of using Proxmox only to then have a virtual machine that's like effectively dead weight is just like, oh, okay, like why? Now granted, I'm also running TrueNAS, so it gives me a little bit of a benefit because TrueNAS just runs as an operating system, so that's really ripe for a virtual machine right then and there. But I did feel like, well, how come I wasn't leveraging anything else? Also, some of the Docker stacks I had were a bit confusing. Usually I'd get lots of problems with file permissions with Docker. You can use mounts, or you can use volumes in Docker to basically like, hey, pretend that there's a folder, or yeah, that is managed by Docker, it's maintained by Docker, and then in theory you could share it between different containers, but I don't. But my biggest problem with it was I had no idea how to really back it up or do anything out of it. And then obviously if the container doesn't run, it's a bit clunky to pull, to mount that volume somehow into another container and then pull the files out of it in order to do some configurations and stuff like that. I found it a bit painful. More of the stacks I ran than not would give you bare metal instructions. There was one singular one, piped for video, which is a YouTube front end, a privacy front end. Should I be saying this on YouTube? But they only provide Docker instructions. They do not tell you how to build from source. I could probably infer from the Docker files. I could probably start to pull that out, but yeah, I got no clue how to do that. And that's the only stack that unfortunately doesn't have instructions on how to run from source, or in quite a lot of cases, there's a lot of programs that just have a binary available, which I greatly appreciate. And I think ultimately, most programs should probably have all 3. Have a binary, if you can really do it that simple. Have a, because the nice thing about binary is that a lot of people are running the exact same thing. Instructions to run from source, and then also, at the very least, a Docker file. You don't necessarily need to build that, but at the very least having a Docker file, because then it means that the, at least the instructions are there, and also someone can just build the Docker file. Most of the time, Docker files shouldn't, go obsolete like that, so... but yeah, no, probably do all 3. And yeah, unfortunately I'm getting caught out because it's the one which doesn't have a build instructions. Now before, when I was running everything in Docker containers, There were a couple of stacks which I basically improv'd. I ran Knitter, which has a Docker file, but it wasn't being run off. I think a lot of Knitter got broken when Twitter added, well, they basically removed support for not being logged in, and that was a bit painful. So lots of Knitter's code was sort of based off one of the dev branches for a long time until it finally got merged in, and that was a bit painful. So I built a Docker file to basically like build from that branch instead. And then Pleroma also doesn't have a Docker file, and I had to improv on that one as well, which wasn't too bad. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I can guarantee just run a virtual machine and just run that. It works way nicer. Just run the executable. Well, not the executable. It's kind of out of a releases build folder. But yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense, and I'm doing a small bit of work to clean that up, but generally my migration has been pretty alright. And then on top of that, I've thrown Grafana Alloy on everything, so I'm omitting logs and metrics towards Loki and Prometheus, which is very overkill. There's a post on Hacker News where basically there's a comment that was very early. Some guy was like talking about this in terms of like, oh, I've got a Minecraft server, and yeah, he sort of got like, there was one comment that was like, dude, that's like so overkill, like why do you need that? It's not even like that critical. And I'm just like, it's fun. Also, it's kind of neat seeing logs for things in a sort of centralized location, especially when you're running lots and lots of virtual machines or Docker containers, and it's like, you don't actually have a very easy way of spotting what is running like what. It's very nice to just be able to go, okay, just give me all the error logs. Not everything logs nicely. Some things like my own Discord bot doesn't log nicely out. But yeah, for the most part, we can, you know, we can fix it up. We can do some passing of the strings. And yeah, depends how overkill I want to do it. I'm probably not going to build a dashboard for every single service I run, because some of them are just like, I don't care if they're throwing errors. I'd like to see that there's errors, but I don't particularly care that they're throwing errors enough to, you know, make like dashboards and stuff off of it. But then just other things like having all the Proxmox metrics show up in nice little dashboards as well is also very nice. And yeah, at the end of the day, that's what I wanted to do. So yeah, so I moved everything into LXC containers. So they're all just running little Debian things. Some of them you can set up immediately from scripts. There's Proxmox community scripts. That's a repo which has lots and lots of useful tools. I did a small PR because was it search engine? Was it SeerXNG? I just call it search engine. That had a problem in the build because that was the one that has to be git cloned and compiled rather than relying on a binary. And yeah, they changed the instructions casually, and that was good fun to catch, but it wasn't too bad. Yeah, no, starting to use LXCs, which means now everything is a lot easier to know how much it can use, and then also on top of that, I can't run out of disk space on the whole, like, Ubuntu, and then suddenly everything dies. Because that was a big problem. I had that before, where it's like, I cannot use this computer because I have to increase the disk size. It's like, no, it only affects virtual machines one at a time now. It doesn't affect everything, which is very nice. And then also on top of that, just separate Postgres containers just seems quite nice. I know you can run Postgres on an instance, and for the most part, like, you know, on any machine, you don't necessarily need to make Postgres separate, but I think it does generally work a bit nicer if you just leave the Postgres stuff separate, because then it means the disk space is exclusively for that database, and that's it. And then also, your program space is kind of easier to back up as well, because it's not changing as frequently. Or you can update the program and the database separately. Does mean you have to do migrations, but doesn't everyone, I guess. But yeah, no, maybe I wanted to do a video ages ago on on I guess upgrading with more drives, and that was the whole story with the I'm just throwing myself at the boss again, aren't I? I do have a lot more defense now. Or at least a bit more defense. Because the only thing I bought was the was the shield for Rags. I did get some level ups as well, so there's that. But yeah, no, I do want to share that off a bit more, and I've always been half tempted to, you know, like have sort of like a home lab discussion on the channel, but I've never really found like a great way to frame it, and it's obviously like quite a wild difference compared to what I've usually got on the channel, so. Alright, take two. Maybe I go for the big guy, because the big guy does hit hard. I don't know how much health Kandar has, but... I mean, all of these guys hit hard, but just get the big one out, because then at least they're spreading the load a bit. As long as you don't hit air right off the bat. I don't really have a great strategy here. I'm sort of like, well, I've got two people who can attack. So I'd probably just play it a bit defensive and let Rags and Nyx go for this. Oh. Oh. No, actually, let's play mega defensive. There we go. Okay, I'm tense. I'm really tense on this one. Because I don't know who's gonna live. Oh, no. Oh, boy. Okay. Sometimes they go first. Ah. Okay, no, we're still alive. We're still in. We're still in the game. And Rags decided not to attack. Cool. Okay. I know I'm not able to warp out after this, but that's okay. No! No, air! Apparently everyone seems to be missing Nyx though. Come on, get this guy! Get this guy! How much health has he got? Jeez! You know, part of me maybe thinks it was the wrong strat to... Oh, okay. Single out Rags. Maybe a part of me thinks it was probably the wrong strat to keep healing, or, you know, to not go for the little dudes. I did not realize this guy has that much health. That is absurd. That is very absurd. How much health does he have? Wow! Oh, it's 300. Okay, that's why. Yeah, there's a proper boss fight. It is indeed a boss fight. Wow. They are fairly far away from another level, I'll tell you that. Wow. Yeah, jeez. Okay. Either that or I've just got a very terrible team comp. One of the two. One of the two. So, yeah, no, I want to show off more stuff with with tech and things like that, because I've always really liked tech as a topic, and obviously, like, it's sort of hand in hand with, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money to get everyone out of being dead. You lack the funds! These destitute people. And Rags is even higher level, so... yeah, this is a bit unfortunate, isn't it? Although this does mean that I get a bit more experience on these two in a fight. Because just because your characters are dead doesn't mean you have less experience, it just means it's not shared. But it does mean you have to roll into these fights. Dude, we're one-hitting these fellas. Or at least Biendeo is. Yeah. So now I can get into the controversial kind of topic. So last week I mentioned a Vice article. Sort of, I think I called it a bit of a smear job or a hit piece against a VTuber called Kersha. I've watched some of Kersha's streams. She says some things. She's got very, like, she'll definitely talk about news and politics quite a bunch, but she'll she plays games as well. It's about 50-50. But definitely, like, she's got a lot of politics opinions, and I don't know, sometimes I listen to politics, and sometimes it's like, oh, okay, whatever. There are some other content creators and some other VTubers where it's like, oh, I've heard them, like, talk about politics, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really gain anything out of that, but, yeah, no, I think that she at least talks about stuff that, like, generally, I don't know, I see a lot of stuff where it's like, I don't see these stories covered, or she talks about a haunted house, or something like that. So, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of content creators out there who have somewhat unique and kind of interesting content, and that's one reason why I like playing, odd variety games, because it makes for good fun, random, very, very odd streams. Who knows what you're expecting with the Game Boy Color version of Dragon Quest III. Yeah, no, she had this article written about her, and I think the timing was quite odd, because, or rather suspect, because she had criticized this author's previous article on Vice, ripping into a different VTuber talent agency, yeah, she basically, like, said, oh, this is a smear job, whatever. She went on holidays, and then, there was this article about her suddenly, just as she got back, saying that, like, oh, she hadn't responded for comment, and it's like she was on holiday, and you asked, like, an hour before you released the article, like, that kind of stuff. Almost everything in the article is very weaselly. It doesn't actually quite, like, say that she is a terrible person in various ways, although they do note, I think, like, she talks about, extreme or fringe topics, which is, like, extreme and fringe are such weasel words, it's like, whatever, like, you be the judge. You watch her content, and you determine whether it is for you, you know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't really be a, like... Also, hold on, who can equip these hats? Apparently everyone, and I just casually sold all the hats. Okay. I shouldn't have gotten rid of all those hats. Okay. Whoops. That's okay, we'll get some free hats. Give me your hat! But yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like, in general, everyone should be the judge of the content, whether they want to watch it or not. I don't think there is any shame in watching really anyone's content, maybe at all. I don't know. How would I put it? There's probably, like, some very extremes. We could probably find some weird, very extreme cases where it's like, yeah, that kind of stuff is quite, like, I guess, like, how would I put it? Let's just say the live leak kind of quality stuff, other than, like, morbid curiosity, and I don't think it's quite, productive to watch a ton of that kind of stuff. I don't know though. I feel like there's a time and place for lots of kind of content out there, and you know, you as a viewer, it's like, oh, whatever, you know, like you should watch who you want to watch. And if a person has raised an audience for doing stuff that people like, then I don't know. I think it's like, yeah, you know, you should be able to do your stuff in the same way that like there's other content creators that, say, for example, talk about politics and completely, you know, complete opposite end of the spectrum, or you know, the spectrum is not one-dimensional. It's not like, oh, like, she's very right-wing, therefore a very left-wing. It's like, there's lots of aspects. It's literally every single topic. You can find people, you know, like, going on that axis, but then suddenly aligning on lots of very, very different things. Like, say, for example, I'll mention this a little bit. I was watching, was it the H3 versus Hassan debate? It's a very popcorny kind of drama, and I probably wouldn't recommend that. I felt like I was losing a lot of brain cells trying to comprehend what was going on there. But that's one where it's like, they only differ by one topic, those two people. But it's such a significant topic that, like, you know, freaking the earth shatters, the gap widens, and these people do not get along with each other because of that, which is very insane. Well, not very insane, but like, I wish it was more complex than that. I really wish that, like, it didn't seem that kind of shallow from an outsider perspective. I don't know. I don't know these people personally, and I only know of them, like, I only know of Hassan through memes, and I only know of H3 through, I watched his stuff until he spray painted his face gold, and then I found his stuff to be not as fun anymore. But there are things, I quote Ethan on a lot of stuff, and I don't know, there's things I respect him on, but he certainly, like, started dunking on people who probably, maybe not dunking, that's not the right term, but he was very critical of people and content. No, I don't know. I think he had a very interesting podcast idea where basically he had a very Wild West, kind of like, you know, a guest from a very different, you know, scene. You know, Vsauce would be on, and then iDubbbz would be on, and then Total Biscuit would be on, and or was it Post Malone would be on. Like, there were a lot of really interesting people he'd talk to, and then I guess at some point the podcast became more of a regular him reacting to his own community kind of thing. I hadn't been watching him for that much by the time he had started doing that, so I just didn't really keep up with that. But the point still stands that, like, there are people on the internet that have opinions and ideas, and I feel like a purity test of, oh, you know, like, this person must be entirely pure if you want to even dare watch their stuff, let alone, enjoy them or something like that. There are people I disagree with, and I'm just like, oh, I still follow them, whatever. Sometimes I do a good meme, you know? Like, whatever. I think the way that I would categorize this is that there are instances where a person is constructing, they're creating media, they're building something new, and there are instances when people are tearing down. Sometimes, you know, you get people who are very much creators. They do not engage with the deconstruction. Sometimes you get people who are very much deconstructors. They do not provide value or media of their own. They purely exist to leech and sort of sap away at, you know, established media, basically. They sort of, I guess, parasitic would be the term I'd use. I am very much under the opinion that a lot of people can redeem themselves. There is a redemption arc should people recognize that they do indeed participate in that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, I think there's a lot of people, maybe not a lot, I don't know. There are people out there who are just not worth caring about, in the sense of they don't make anything. I think the general sort of pessimistic term V-tweeter, when you're a VTuber who hasn't debuted yet and all you do is you rag on people on Twitter. You know, whether that does correctly classify a person or not, someone who is correctly classified by that certainly is, I guess, somewhat a leech in the sense of, what are you providing? I don't care if you have hot and spicy takes, and if you completely disagree with people, and you do whatever, but if you're making content and there's people who enjoy your stuff, or even better, if you yourself find enjoyment and value and purpose out of creating things. Even if you are currently in a Twitch stream where there's one viewer and not a single person has replied to your, you know, said anything in your stream chat, you know, like, if you find value in your kinds of content, then you should feel happy that you're making it. You know what I mean? There's no... I don't think there's anything more than that. But like to really say, hey, you know, you're starting to do stuff. Now, obviously, if people are really enjoying it, if it shapes and if it maybe even, you know, inspires more people to make stuff, I think that's even better. Certainly, there is a goal to not just be like, you know, swamping out people's content feeds. There's an art to quality. But in general, it's like, yeah, you know, like, if you're creating stuff, I can't knock you for trying to create stuff or having your own audience or that kind of stuff. It's like, there are people who, you know, enjoy your kinds of stuff. I can certainly go, I have no idea why people like that kinds of stuff. I mean, you know, like, I think... Oh, and I'll just rip on Hassan for a moment, for that one. It's like, I don't get his content. I think some of his stuff is personally a bit distasteful for me. And I have no idea how he manages to attract the viewership when his commentary is not particularly deep enough. There are other YouTubers who also I have shared that opinion with, so I'm not going to exclusively single out Hassan, but I just mentioned him earlier and I was like, I might as well say that. But that's not to say that, like, you know, people who watch him are bad people. That's not to say that, like, he is a bad person for, like, necessarily making content, like, just the full stop of creating stuff. Now, if he was to then go, hey, this person is a terrible person, you shouldn't make this kinds of stuff, and your argument is very, either, I don't know, character-driven, or it's, you know, like, I guess, petty, I guess is the other phrase to use. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a bit unwarranted. I don't really, you know, I don't think you should be tearing down people when you should be telling people somewhat, and this is not to say criticism, you know, you can't criticize anyone, how dare you, and also I hate I'll just slightly add in as well, the whole, like, if you haven't made something, therefore you can't criticize. I hate that argument, because as a consumer, you are therefore the right audience to criticize, but as an audience, as a consumer of something, you also are less aware of what goes into something, such that it does make the constructive criticism harder. It doesn't make it impossible, but it does mean that the navigation between what someone wants and what your audience is saying, what your audience is saying and what they actually want, is quite an interesting one. I've had, you know, say for example at work, I've had things like that where it's like, oh, you know, we need this, this, and this, and I'm like, why do you need that, that, and that? We need to figure out, like, what's the actual metric that you're relying on, and then let's try to go backwards and figure out, okay, well, then how do we get there? And how do we turn that into, hey, this is a task that can be picked up by an individual? Because it's very easy for someone to sort of introspectively, or not introspectively, that's not the right term, but it's very easy for someone to sort of say, thing sucks. It's very easy for someone to also come in and just suggest the wrong kinds of constructive thing. But ultimately, I think the heart is in the right place, for the most part. When, you know, say for example at work, there is a level of, you know, we're all under a common goal. We want to make, you know, the project better and better and better. And the easiest way to make the project better and better and better is to iterate on feedback, to drill down, to figure out the root, you know, like, I guess, things that we're targeting, and then move on. And in the same way as in, you know, like in YouTube culture and all that stuff, or any social media, ultimately, a lot of people's feedback is going to be very kind of warped and slightly misaimed, in the sense of maybe they don't actually, they haven't hit the nail on the head, but they've identified that the nail is crooked. They've spotted that there is something up, and that's why I'm very open to feedback. I'm like, you know, sometimes I take it a bit personally. I'm just like, not as in, I don't think I've really taken that much YouTube feedback personally. No, it hasn't really gotten to me. I take it at work personally. That's a character flaw of mine. I'm like, I get very, very self-conscious, which, or very neurotic about things. And sometimes it's great, because then it means that there are no, you know, there are no corners cut. Whoops, I did a double heel. But then it also means sometimes something's just overthought of. I don't know. I like striving for perfection. I like going for that. But still, there are a lot of people online where it's like, the feedback that they give comes out of a place of they are indeed constructing. And especially in Twitter, it's so easy to get, like, riled up, because someone can only... Also, hi. It's been a while since I've fought a heel slime. Let's see if we can kill the Rogue Knight first. It's very easy to interpret someone's 280 characters, because you can basically only do 2 short sentences with 280 characters, or 1 slightly longer sentence. Also, oh boy, this is going to make it a bit annoying to... we're going to have to get these healers. It's kind of fun that the whip goes backwards, because A is on the right and B is on the left. Yeah, these guys really don't give that much money, do they? Oh, it's kind of shocked me how little money they've given. But yeah. I don't know if that spear would be useful, but the iron cuirass would be very, very nice. And in theory, if I throw myself at the fight again, I might just run for the tower just to get, you know, maybe a bit more money, but then sort of back up just so I can buy that for 1100. And then yeah, we'll make sure that we get the goons. I think the goons have 120 health, so probably we can kill all 3 goons probably well before the actual dude. But yeah, so to go back to Kershaw and that article very much is parasitic. It is tearing down someone who creates content through very, very, very slimy means. The subtitle literally says, and one of her fans is a Nazi. And it's like, one, it's a very... It may be an accurate term in this case, but one, that word's been overused to heck. And 2, one of her fans, it's like, what kind of... That barely says anything about her, if anything. You know, I'd be surprised if one of my fans isn't, you know, a communist, or one of my fans isn't a Nazi, or one of my fans is a child murderer. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many people out there that, like, I've probably gotten this video heavily demonetized, but, like, YouTube, what do you do? But, like, at the end of the day, it's like, I don't think it's a purity test to go, hey, you know, like, you can't enjoy this content because you believe in XYZ. It's like, no, like, and it shouldn't be a mystery. It shouldn't be an absolute mystery that, like, someone has, like, a certain opinion. For me, in general, I'm as, like, wide a net. I generally don't go near this kinds of stuff, but the reason why this kind of, you know, affects me personally is because how would I put it? I've seen this absolutely destroy people, this stuff by association. And I feel like it's dragged down content creators that I've watched to the point of, okay, well, somewhat I would like to voice my concern and make sure that, hey, I might have a bit of a nuanced take and I'd like to contribute a little bit into that. But the reason why I think this escalated a little bit and why it needs to be, or why I'm talking about this for a second week, is because in that past week, Kershaw has been a vocal supporter of a game called Crime Boss Roque City. This game is, I think I remember mentioning its trailer ages ago. All I remember was it had a bunch of actors motion capped and had their likenesses in it, but it was basically a Payday clone from, was it also published by 505, or was it someone else? I don't know who the devs were. I think this is maybe the only thing they've done. It's not a particularly, based on reviews and watching gameplay, it's not a particularly, polished game. But Kershaw seemed to very enjoy it. And I think a lot of people who were still enjoying it to this day might have just been her fans, and people really, understanding through her what makes this game worthwhile playing. She had been sort of promoting the game quite freely for quite a while, and then I think she had gotten into a partnership with them. She had also had the devs in her chat talk about the game and other kinds of things. And she had been, I think she had only been very recently paid to actually promote the game somewhat. But she had silently been dropped. I think not silently, I think she knew, but they didn't announce it. They sort of just kind of told her about this. And her management also was sort of just told. But it was can we have a discussion? And the answer was no. They are not, continuing their partnership with her. Now, in theory, I think there's a lot of, there's bound to be a lot of reasons why that kind of stuff happens, I guess. But they were very explicit that the reason was because of this hit piece. And they were very, very unhappy about the association with someone who apparently is, I guess, of a fringe political belief, which I feel like is you're gonna have to be careful with calling kinds of stuff fringe, because it's who knows? I'm not measuring it, I'd prefer to at least give things the, not the benefit of the doubt, but rather if something is a terrible idea, we should know that it's a terrible idea, rather than just name calling or just saying, oh, it's unpopular and therefore it, you know what I mean? Someone might have an incredibly good, kind of opinion, but it does involve, it's unpopular in the sense of, say, for example, and also not to say that popular things are necessarily the best. I think a lot of people can safely say, hey, seizing people's houses so that you could, house the homeless, or, billionaires' houses. I think a lot of people will probably say, maybe, I don't know, more people will benefit from that than will directly be hurt. But I think a lot of people also don't agree with that one. I don't know. I'm coming up with a silly idea. I don't know my politics. I'm really bad at politics. Let's just say that. But the whole point is that, if you've got, an idea, it's the idea should be, discussed and debated somewhat. That's if you have conviction enough that you care enough to discuss the idea more. I think I have a lot of things in my head where I'm I don't know if they're worth discussing or things like that, and that's fine. People have ideas and stuff all the time. Cream of the crop floats up, and then eventually we get cool ideas or whatever kinds of stuff, and then hopefully no idea is that kind of. I think extreme is maybe more accurate term for something that involves a lot of effort to enact, rather than necessarily change the tax to this amount, you know what I mean? Changing the tax to 0% is not an extreme position, if that makes sense, because it's not it takes effort to do. But certainly it's a you know, like, oh, it's extreme in terms of like, oh, that would change a lot of things up, I guess. But then, like, say for example, like a very deep plan where you audit things or stuff like that. That might be, I don't know. There's probably a lot of definition and a lot of semantics, and I have no idea what semantics to play. Point is, like, I feel like I do feel very bad for Kershaw getting dropped because of this. And I think a lot of people feel very bad, because if you look at the reviews for Crime Boss Rockay City on Steam, it's getting absolutely railed. That game also, I believe, had an Epic Games launch first, so the player count on Steam is not necessarily the complete player count of the game, just note. It's on consoles as well, so you'll never quite know. The true die-hard fans will have played it on Epic Games first, and I believe it was it given as an Epic Games freebie once? It might have been. Can't remember if it was, but I think it was a humble monthly game, because that's why I own it. I don't remember buying it. And because of that, it's like, well, I can't exactly refund that. And I also haven't even played it, so I have as much, like, grounds to, you know, repeal it as I did with The Crew, which is not very much, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, you know, like, what is... And I guess that's the thing, is that ultimately, at the end of the day, my opinion doesn't actually... It hasn't been a lost sale of the game. I think definitely I hadn't previously been convinced to play the game. But I also... You know, like, I guess, am I a lost sale? I guess I'm an unconverted sale, and I might be slightly more never going to play it. I don't know, it's a multiplayer shooter. It sort of isn't quite my cup of tea anyways. I got so burnt out by Payday 2, I'll tell you. I'm sort of like, I don't mind your Payday 2, but oh boy, I could not afford your DLC model, I tell ya. Are these guys just chilling outside? Oh, they are! You don't even have to climb up the inside. I'm gonna get that. I'm getting that that armor though, I tell ya. I'm gonna need that. If only you could buy the boomerang, you know? That would actually make this fight a lot easier. But yeah. I don't believe, like, that whole idea of people who construct and people who tear down, you know, the game still exists. And for people who really care about the constructive nature about the game, what is the game? Do you enjoy the game? You shouldn't let this Kershaw thing necessarily drag you down if you were completely unaware. I think it's worth knowing, because I do think that it is a tipping point for some consumers, and certainly for fans of Kershaw. Them dropping support for Kershaw for a pretty terrible reason is very fair grounds to, you know, to be upset and to even say, hey, I demand a refund, or I'm dropping playing this game. Because dropping playing a game is just as bad. I think some people will go, oh, but they already have your money. It's like, a lot of these companies rely on investments, and the investments are not going to be happy when they see a very big blip for a very, you know, avoidable reason, we'll say. And to that, I then go, oh, I remember seeing people sort of say, oh, review bombing is sort of like a dirty tactic, but then it's like you see it kind of go, no matter who's, I guess, which side, if the sides, you know what I mean. But, like, you know, you see the tactics kind of get adopted a lot. I guess the ground is, there are some tactics that I think are complete hard, like, please don't go there. I think a lot of people can agree, personal targeting of staff, in terms of, like, their personal lives have nothing to do with anything. no one should really go after... Well, no one should really go after individual staff in this case, because the statements were given as a company anyways. But also, I think back in the day, when I talked about the Sweet Baby kinds of stuff, and there was that one person who tried, like, going after this one guy who made the Sweet Baby Inc. Detected Steam group, I'm like, that person singled themselves out as, I'm speaking and I work for this company, but they were very much speaking on behalf of themselves, and therefore they themselves should have been the target of the criticism. Certainly, I mean, you know, they're sucking up their own company, so like, the association is fair, but again, at the same realm, directed criticism should generally be constructive in the sense of, or at least anti-teardown. I think that's probably a fair call. But yeah, like, anything that's not relevant to that conversation should generally be like, hey, you know, like, and of course, obviously, like, things like doxing or threats or that kind of stuff, all that is no bueno. None of that, because one, we shouldn't live in it's current year. We shouldn't, but like, we shouldn't need people to be like told, like, don't tell people to, like, you know, like, stop existing, like that kind of stuff. It's like, people, I think everyone has that kind of ability to grow. Grow as a person is a bit of an overused phrase, but like, ability to, like, understand that they're doing something wrong and then, like, get a bit better because of that, or at least identify the wrongs of their ways, or alternatively just, you know, like, I guess, isolate in the sense of, okay, well, I'm not going to touch your space, I'm going to construct stuff in my own space. That's a fair option. Like, as much as people do rip on, I guess, various kinds of games, whether they're incredibly, I guess, right or left-leaning in terms of, like, they're owning the other side, like, that's sort of like their big marketing push, which I always find those to be a bit odd, bit interesting. But like, hey, you're making stuff. I might say, hey, it's a bit of a waste of money. I might have absolutely no interest in actually buying it, but like, you are making a thing. If you yourself have an audience who does indeed buy your thing such that you have, you know, an income stream, and, you know, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone, that kind of stuff, and like, whatever, you know, you can make your games about certain stories and things like that if you have people buying it, and that's fair. I think companies sometimes will play it both ways, which is a bit disingenuous. I think a lot of people should probably, like, realize that companies are not on anyone's side, in the sense of, not as in they're being neutral, as in they play both sides, because it's better to play both sides than to not participate at all, which is deeply unfortunate when it comes to that kind of stuff, because then it means you get very guerrilla marketing and things like that, which is just like, oh, why are you doing this? It peeves me off, and I generally, you know, like, people wake up, like that. I think there's a realm of, like, people should probably stop engaging in that kind of stuff and stop showing that works, because a lot of companies will stop doing things when it stops growing, let alone stops making money. You know, like, if social media marketing is cheap and easy, and that's why you see a lot of very, like, silly tactics on social media, because it doesn't cost anyone anything to say something kind of controversial. I also hate, by the way, just want to add as well, I hate freaking, like, the fake advertising that goes on. I hate how much advertising is completely, like, disingenuous. We created some accounts ages ago, or we bought some old accounts on social media that, like, looked okay, or we paid some guy to basically say a thing, kind of undisclosed. But if you do that, you know, subtly enough, you don't pay him enough, and you don't get him to re-participate that much or that kind of stuff, no one bats an eye. But that kind of stuff happens, and it's absolutely, like, disgusting that, like, you know, like, it works, I guess. I think a lot of people should just go, hey, I don't care. That should really be the thing. Like, if you see something that's kind of like that, it's like, yeah, I don't care. That kind of stuff, whatever. So, that should be it. Obviously, again, yes. If you're a person who enjoys certain kinds of things, keep enjoying those certain kinds of things. Don't let anyone who writes a hit piece or whatever, or any kind of smear piece, tell you otherwise. Unless you look deep down inside yourself and go, you know, right, they have a point. Like, if you think that, then, okay, sure. But, like, I think a lot of people, especially for that one Vice article, should probably see, hey, it's not really saying anything. It's a really, like, tame scenario, or a miscommunication, or a misunderstanding in some cases, or whatever. There's so many reasons for things. This article infers so much stuff, and it's very disingenuous. It really drops the ball. And I don't think it's worth even, you know, like, is it worth checking out? I mean, I guess, like, if you're curious, but ultimately this article is gonna, you know, pass on, and the only people who are gonna remember are the people who are upset about it, which, at the end of the day, is parasitic. It's deconstructive. It's providing no value of its own, and I think, you know, like, not to say character attack, but the author is still very upset that they couldn't take off as a VTuber. I think that explains everything. There is no mystery. Maybe, you know, is it conspiratorial in the sense of, like, I'm trying to infer someone's motives and maybe explain why they had done their actions, but, like, that's what I mean. This person has gotten so sucked up into the world of, I want to be successful and I want to be part of a big agency and I want to have collaborations and all that stuff, that since that they haven't achieved that, therefore the system has been rigged against them. They must destroy it from the, I guess from the outside in this case, but they, you know, they must point out, like, they must find the cracks and try to tear people out and tear people apart, and it's like, what are you doing? Do you think, like, I don't know, like, it's so dirty. It's very rude, very disingenuous to be that kind of person. If you're not that kind of person, then I think, okay, well, hey, whatever, we can talk it out. You know, my emails are free. My Fetty is always there, apart from when I was migrating it the other night. But no, it's up now. It's working. I didn't break anything this time. We're doing okay. You know, like this kind of stuff. You know, if I'm reading this wrong, then sure, okay, whatever. And to an outsider as well. Like, if this person says otherwise or changes, you know, the story a little bit, I think it should be worth noting where they came from, but also then, yeah, okay, like, let's try to refigure this out. But yeah, it does seem like it's very in bad faith. The person at Crime Boss Devs, I forgot their name. Also, I don't know if it's a publisher thing. It's somewhere in their chain. It's just whoever was the contact who handled the partnerships. Because not every game has that kind of stuff, and who manages it might be in the dev team, it might be out of the dev team. Not really too sure. But, you know, there's a lot of, like, whatever the reason that they specifically had to then tell Kershaw that it was because of, you know, her opinions or her kind of, I guess, philosophies. It's like, you know, we need to figure that out. Is the idea that associating with her would lose money? Is that the idea? Because if it's optics, who cares? Again, the article will be forgotten about, except for the people who are upset about it. And who are the people upset about it? Not even, you know, like, there's Twitter freaks, there's those kinds of people, and not even they were very aware of the specific thing that was, like, grilled on. This is basically like, you know, this journalist found dirt. Basically found, like, oh, look, She retweeted this post which has her plushies, except if you look very closely, there's a very bad symbol in the picture, and she retweeted it, therefore she 100% has these opinions and endorses it and stuff, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, why? What? I don't know, that kind of stuff, it boils my blood. I think they mentioned Gamergate in the article as well. It just hit the stack of nearly everything that sort of repeatedly has kept coming up in article after article. And I don't know, my faith in video game journalism is, I know it's a VTuber thing, so it's slightly off from video game journalism. I don't know, it's been very soured, and this article continues to not help. There are indeed people who do investigate things and tell things like it is, and, you know, like, I guess, you know, there's a time and place for a lot of journalism as well, but this kind of deconstructive kind of, you know, espousing, and there's nothing gained. There's nothing. This person doesn't gain anything in his or her career. There is nothing to be gained other than to tear Kersha out of, you know, any association she has. That's the reason why they mention her sponsor in word number 4 of the title of the article before they even mention her. They're immediately insinuating that, like, any association is bad, and how dare anyone associate with this person. And it's like, I don't know. Boils my blood. So, moral of the story is, association, or rather, you know, look for constructive. Constructive is where it's at. Okay, this is gonna be... I'm gonna sap Goon 2 just to... Actually, no, sap Goon 1. Might as well. Just to get this one over quicker. So I think they got 120 health, or they have 80. One of the two. I'm still going to be taking a fair bit of heat, though, I tell ya. So this is 120. Oh, it is 80. Okay. I think the, oh. I've just got to rely on the random hit not getting, you know, the person who is also hit in the middle of the turn. That's the only kind of iffy part. It's very curious as well. This is the first boss fight, and it's such a left field fight because the boss is not easy to be reacted to, especially when he does crits like that. Oh my gosh! I never know who is going to attack first. Nyx attacks first. Yeah, usually Biendeo is pretty okay at attacking afterwards. And then Era's very slow healing, and now Era's taken a hit, and now it's back to this. Okay, we got another goon. We're getting there. Oh, another crit. Okay, I think we're starting to get good where Biendeo can attack directly again. Okay, we're looking good. We're looking pretty in the city. This is where a sap will come in useful. So 300 health. 300 health. Let's get rid of it. Thank you, Rags, for contributing. There we go. Thank you, Rags, again, for contributing. it is a boss fight, but the music didn't change, so is it really a boss fight? See, this fight's a lot more maintainable when you've, when you've only got one target. It's so cruel that all three goons were separate groups. Just makes the whip unfortunately useless. Ooh, we got a freebie. We got a freebie. Man, he's got a lot of health though. There we go. First try. First try. And we only got one level about that. Mercy, you can have the crown back, so let me go. Huh? Huh? No. Aw, come on, huh? No. No. Okay, fine. Bless your forgiveness. I'll never forget you. Farewell. What's this? The crown? There we go. So there we go. Do I have enough magic to return? I do. There we go. Oh, we can go to Kazab. Very nice. I didn't even remember that you could do that. But anyway, we gotta go back here because they needed the crown. Finally, we made progress this stream. Seriously, what level was I? I'm only level 10 on the main character, but we're at level 12 now, so... Ah, Biendeo, so good of you to return my crown. You are truly a great hero. You are worthy of becoming the king. So what do you say? Would you be willing to rule the kingdom in my place? All you need to say is, yes, and the kingdom shall be yours. Well, no. Oh, you don't wish to do this? Well, you should experience it all. I won't be able to help you if you change your mind. This is your one and only chance to become a king. So what do you say? I think he actually can say no, like, enough times, but you might as well. From now on, Biendeo shall be this castle's new king. Wait, you're a woman! Astounding! In Romali's history, no woman has ever ruled as the king. But you did defeat Kandar, didn't you? Ah, fine. Your power makes you worthy of ruling the kingdom. You shall be our first ever queen! I always like that, just the female dialogue, just being like, oh, snap. So now, I am the queen. All hail our first queen, Queen Biendeo, hooray! That's wonderful, Queen Biendeo. My husband, the last king, did the best he could, but there are some jobs that demand a woman's delicate touch. I hope for your success, Biendeo. Hail the new Queen Biendeo. Oh, I thought they had anything back there. We've received word, Highness. Queen Biendeo, as our new ruler, we must ask that you do not wander about. You shall proceed to wander about. Oh, Your Highness, did you know the wizard wand attacks monsters with fireballs? It can be used over and over too. I would think it's convenient. Oh, blocked my way. To the dungeons! Ah, Biendeo, you look grand. It's as if you're the queen here. Wow. What? He made you the queen? Sigh, he hasn't lost any of his bad habits. The queen checked the bookshelf. The queen checked underfoot. I don't suppose that the queen has no items. The queen can't cast any spells. The queen was strong before. The queen tried to make plans. It's not necessary for the queen now. it's like, oh, okay. Okay, alright. It's locked. No key will fit. Oh, yeah, because I'm not holding on to anything. Romali is a beautiful country. Lady Biendeo, only someone of your beauty is fit to rule as the queen. Oh la la, a beacon of beauty she stands, our divine queen and savior. You're the talk of the town. Queen? Ah, a woman to rule a kingdom? I hear you let Kandar go. That's typical of a woman. Lenient. Classic. Well, he did refuse to not let go, I guess. He should have been there. I would have said no like 18 times. Your Highness, you are the sun in my... Ow! Sun... go. So we head outside. Ah, the Queen, a young, beautiful, and strong woman who will brighten up the kingdom. This calls for a celebration. And we can then leave. And then they're like, Your Highness, it's unsafe to leave the castle. Your Highness, please return to the castle. Oh, okay. Oh, hello, Your Highness. By the way, has the hero from Aliahan arrived? He should be here, but... Ah, Highness, I hope you are well. Incidentally, the former king went downstairs looking rather happy. You are the new queen, yes? Please, please, lower our tax... Oh, see, I had that idea like half an hour ago. Oh, you gave me quite the start. I didn't recognize you, our queen. Thanks to your benevolence, my business is doing well, Highness. He went downstairs, you see. Oh, he went gambling right away. Hi, you look rather rich. I hope you spend lots of money. Gambling? Not on your life. We're just enjoying the show. It's me, the former king. Life is good among the common people. I never knew that gambling could be so fun. Rule the kingdom wisely, sire. Sure. We'll meet again. Anyway, you gotta tell him, you're not. Oh, have you grown tired of being the queen? Yeah, I see. I can't force you to stay on if you're not happy about it. Although it was much too brief, I did get to unwind a bit. Fine, Biendeo. You should resume your journey. So, although I never saw it, I heard that you distinguish yourself as a great queen, Biendeo. But chalk it up to experience. I'm sure that you'll experience much more on your long journey. I look forward to hearing about your continued success. Now go on. I wanted to confer the kingdom to Biendeo. Oh well. It just kind of happens, you know? So I think the goal is to then, I think we can save first, but I'll continue going on the stream just a bit. I think the goal to continue on is we head up north. Would you like to take my place again for what? No! Okay. You sure you don't want to be a queen? You sure? Also, is everyone healed? I think the answer is yes, actually. No. No, we're not healed. Or at least my MP hadn't healed. Don't know what's up with that. Well, we're gonna have to rest at the inn. Have a good rest. There we go. And now we continue on. So I don't think it's too far away going up north, but yeah. But yeah. Anyway, what did I play this week? I think it would be good to note. I'm mostly near the end of Project Diva. I played Project Diva for the PSP over the past couple of weeks, and that game has been fairly good. I've really enjoyed it. I think it's quite solid, even though that it's actually a very simple game at the end of the day. Actually, I'm looking at the number of games I've played this week, and it's like it's exclusively only Tokyo Xtreme Racer. That's the only one I've beaten. I might as well talk about that one as well. But yeah, no, Project Diva's pretty good. I think the song variety is nice, good fun, and I think that the rhythms, particularly that's what you input on the controller, it's fairly engaging. You carry on pretty well on that one, so that's all good. I have a fundamental problem, which is the way the game's scoring works is that you earn maybe, I think, 750 points per note for every, like, perfect hit, and then there's less points if you get slightly off. In order to maintain a streak, you have to get either, you know, great or nice, which is the one next to it. If you get kind of fair, it drops the streak, which is a bit unfortunate. Now, the other form of points in the song, there's no streak bonus, but the other form of points is that there's a special section of the song which hides all the UI other than the lyrics, and also it tells you that your streak is still going when you hit notes in that, so that's okay. But in that section, every note gains bonus points. The first note you hit in a streak will get you 100 points. And then the second note gets you 200 points. The third note gets you 300 points. And this caps out at 5,000 on the 50th note. And to which every single, note is 5,000 points afterwards. For the longer songs that have longer sections like that, you'll find that the amount of bonus points you get just from that, special chorus at the end of the song is worth more than the actual song itself. And on top of that, that's based on the streak. So if the streak is lost because, you hit a note ever so slightly off, in the middle of that, you end up losing tens of thousands, maybe even 100,000 bonus points, which can very much mean the difference between the great song rating and an acceptable song rating. And in order to unlock the hard versions of songs, or alternatively to unlock many costumes, you need to get a great rating on the song. So most of the songs require absolute precision on those sections, and then barely any precision on any of the rest of the song, because there's no streak bonuses. You can miss a lot of random notes, but dare you not miss all those bonus notes on the way, which is very odd. It's very lopsided. I'm like, why is it like that? I prefer something that generally, favors doing the whole song well, rather than just the last chorus. It's a bit cruel. If you're going for perfect scores, that special section doesn't really matter. And there's honestly nothing really too much in the rest of the game. But its presentation is quite, top-notch. Just the way that the notes fly onto screen, you kind of get a bit of a, I think, Elite Beat Agents is probably the comparison, where, positions on the screen are not timing-based. And in this case as well, it doesn't even change anything mechanically, because all you have to do is hit either cross, circle, square, or triangle at the times that something on the screen indicates that to you, regardless of where on the screen it takes place. But it is decently engaging, and I like the way that various songs have different ways of presenting the notes like that, but ultimately they play quite similarly. I think some of the songs go a little fast near the end, and there's a couple of songs in the middle as well that are rather fast for how they are. I think there's some songs near the end of the game that are just that's not that hard at all compared to what I had to go through. I also think that some of the unlocks shouldn't be what is it? There's a bunch of swimsuit costumes that you can unlock for each of the special characters once you unlock them, after playing every single song and either getting 5 normal clears on that song, also Mad Raven, or you get a great rating, but you have to be that character. And all that does is it changes the character who's dancing in the background. It doesn't change any of the game at all. And the last kind of five songs at the back of the game don't even have animations. They use just JPEGs in the background. Oh, he's called for help. But they just use JPEGs in the background, and you can't even see the character you've chosen. So why do I have to play all these songs again and again when you don't even see the custom character you've chosen? I guess it's all kind of arbitrary padding, because I don't know why. Also, heal slime metal. Check it out, by the way. We found a town up here. Oh, he's asleep. That's okay. And he's asleep. Let's head inside the house. Travelers, please help me. Please find and return the Dream Ruby to the elves. If it isn't given back, they won't lift the curse on this village. Elvenham, the hidden home of the elves, is near the cave in the west. It is said to be in a forest. Let's check the bookshelf for anything fun. We found the tragic personality. I love being tragic, I guess. I don't think the bed's anything special, but yeah, no, I'd still recommend Project Diva, though. I think it was a good time. It's definitely worth playing every song and just having a good, fun experience. There's a lot of effort and kind of fun visuals in the back. It's almost too distracting. Almost. I think there's a couple of songs when sometimes you're like, ooh, it's a bit too flashy, and I missed something. But you get used to it. You'll find a song and you'll be like, oh, okay. raid all your dresses. Find your herbs. Your herbs. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I played a Tokyo Xtreme Racer on the Dreamcast. The actual Tokyo Xtreme Racer. I think I played the GBA version over the Easter break, and then I came back and I was like, oh, you know, this is Tokyo Xtreme Racer Advance. I was actually kind of surprised to be like, oh, that is a remarkably faithful recreation of the Streamcast version, which is basically the same game. You have a car, you don't honk a horn, you flash your high beams, but they'll challenge someone to a race, and then you try to drive in front of them for as long as possible. And then you proceed to, you know, if you win, you get some money. If you lose, there's a little bit of pity money in this one, which is actually kind of nice, because the GBA version doesn't give you that. You spend the money to upgrade your car, or potentially buy a new car, and then you rinse and repeat until literally everyone is defeated. There's a couple of differences. One, there is no reason to upgrade a car in the middle... Sorry, how would I put it? There is one singular good car that you save up for, and that's it. There's a lot of intermediate cars that it's neat to try out with them, but you really don't need to buy any of them. You immediately go for a Skyline R33, and then you will win the game. You will work the money to buy its upgrades, but it is so good that you'll just go with that. The other thing as well is that there is one singular circuit in the game. The GBA version had 6. They weren't particularly interesting, those 6. It's a shadow, they weren't particularly interesting, those 6, but... Wow, good fight. Oh, we barely gave any experience as well. Okay, into the... Actually... I think it's this forest here, actually. Yeah, don't secretly go in the cave. This is Elvenham. Oh no! I'm not supposed to talk to humans! Mama will get mad! That's okay, I'll just have... It's my son's fault that the people of Noannuals were put to sleep. He just had to elope with the elf princess. I've come to apologize for him, but they won't even listen. What am I to do? I've nothing to sell, you humans. I ask that you leave. Freaking elf racism. A tale as old as time. Humans, they'll abduct us! What could humans want of Elvenham? What is it, Noannuals? Ah, there was such an incident. Long ago, my daughter Anne fell in love with a human. Frickin' Aragorn. She stole away with this man, the now treasured Dream Ruby, and has not been heard from since. An elf and a human, it never works. No doubt, Anne was taken for a fool. He must have taken the Dream Ruby. She must have suffered, unable to return. I can't bear to even see humans. Leave at once. Well. You think they'd be cheeky and they put something back here, or nah? Nah, they haven't put anything cheeky here. Interesting. Oh, they did put... Okay, I was like, hold on. They had to have put something there, right? Yeah. It's a pretty quiet town, Elvenham. They do have horses, though. Horses for courses. Anyways, now we actually head into the cave, so... So this cave, most likely, I don't think it has a boss, I think. But it does have tricks and traps, so we're gonna need to keep our eyes peeled for anything too weird. And on top of that, it's not like you can buy anything, which makes me wonder, is that boss, you know, way too hard? Oh, vampire. But like, I don't know. Sometimes RPGs are very, very guilty of having very off difficulties because you can't just like expect a player to learn something. It's like, oh no, it's actually a numbers game. Somewhere in this cave is a sacred spring that will restore you. But why would it even exist? I've heard dismal calls in here. It's not this. This isn't it. Oh, we'll keep continuing, I guess. But yeah, we should be able to hit the end of this dungeon this stream, which at least will mean a bit more progress than the last stream. I think more chests. Repel. We'll keep the monsters at bay. Oops. These are some mad hounds, just like the mad ravens. But yeah, there's not really too much to say about Tokyo Xtreme Racer on the Dreamcast. I think in my backlog review, I described it as butter. It's very, very smooth to control. It runs at a real nice 60 FPS. Certainly you can feel that there's a bit of like, you know, simple qualities in here and there. They spend a lot of detail on the car, and in particular the roads and individual signs that you'll drive past. But there's not a lot going on outside of that. And that's okay, because ultimately, the moment to moment, you're not really looking at anything else too much. So, here we have a staircase. This staircase leads to a staircase, which leads to a chest, which has a tiny medal. Very nice. Is there anything else down here? Or, which leads to a staircase, which leads to a staircase, which leads to ever so slightly off to the side. So, I'm glad that there's a loop there. Also, hey, check that out. Hold on. We're almost there. Gotta watch out for that toadstool. Toadstool. Just gonna say toadstool a bunch. Oh, he's got ice bolts. That's you know, we're starting to get a bit gnarly on the attacks, but that's okay. I seem to be having a slightly better luck with Rags this stream. Rags has been doing okay. Or it could just be because I have some health now. I've got some levels under my belt. Someone probably was looking at my stats going, oh snap, he's going for a low vitality run. I'll have you know, I'm still going for that insane luck run. We're at 167. But yeah, I don't know if my vitality is that low. 24 maybe is on the lower side. And all of these stats aren't particularly great, but the nice thing is that you're not 100% stuffed if your stats are that low. There is a way out. And also, reaching level 99 is very overkill and, you know... Oh, there we go. I could have just walked to that anyways, because, I mean, there's no healing until you get to this point. There's not like an inn before this dungeon, so you might as well have a safe spot. And it's deep enough in the dungeon where, you can't exactly grind it instead of just actually going to an inn. Or at least care to do that. Or I could just fall asleep. And they're dropping defense. Oh! That's my luck stat playing, I tell ya. Can't stun Rags. There you go, take out them toadstools. This actually wasn't too bad, yeah. But yeah, there's really not much to say about Tokyo Xtreme Racer. So yeah, it's like butter, it controls really smoothly. It's a bit light on the actual substance. Strangely a little addicting in places, but ultimately kind of passes really quickly. Also, it controls really slippery as well. I just wanted to add that. It doesn't particularly control amazingly. I think we go all the way up to the end as well for some chests. It doesn't particularly control amazingly. I found that the cars would often rotate way more than they're actually, you know, they're actually turning. They'd understeer real hard, but they look like they're drifting all the time. And braking is quite impossible. Like, it really doesn't work. So, a lot of the times in the harder races, I'd usually find it's just better to slam yourself into a wall and try your best to maintain yourself. But The AI cheats. The AI seems to get around corners in a way that the player cannot. And I'm a little upset about that one, but interestingly, I guess Tokyo Xtreme Racer and its other name, I think, was it Tokyo Drift Challenge? Is that its other name? Because there's an arcade game that's actually like a proto-franchise version of that. It has a lot of sequels. It has a lot of curious sequels, so I might check them out later. We'll see. I don't have a racing game on my radar at the moment. I'm mostly trying to clear up that one, and then I started briefly playing the Pokemon TCG GB2, the sequel, which is curious. It starts off very curious, but I'll save that one for maybe later to discuss. And Last Call BBS, also hi, it's a spear, which would be very nice to actually equip now. Who's holding on to the spear? Oh, Air's holding on to the spear. Because, yeah, no... Oh, actually, Air could... It might be able to leverage that a little bit. Yeah, might as well. Hefted the spear. Plan that equipment. There you go. Yeah. Oops. Also, if you're lazy, you can always cast full HP if you don't want to manually heal. Which maybe later game when I have metric butt tons of magic, sure. For the moment, we're still keeping it pretty. But yeah, the other one I'm playing is Last Call BBS, and I've probably got a lot of thoughts about this one, which is, it's my indie game of the month. Can't knock rags. Last Call BBS is the final game from famous indie developer Zachtronics, famous for creating Infinifactory ages ago, which was the direct inspiration for Minecraft, which I thought was interesting. But a lot of people have probably played one of his other games, which might have been Space Chem or TIS 100. He's got a lot of games that are very much about the meta game of sort of programming and refining. So a lot of them have kinds of scoring systems where you challenge your mates into, you know, using the fewest number of pieces or the fewest number of iterations to make something happen. But I've generally found, like, I've tried playing Space Chem and TIS 100, and I've generally found his games are insanely hard. They start off, you get it, but you don't know how to do it amazingly well, and then it just absolutely depends you. There's, like, no in-between. And his games are always like that, and I wish there were more levels and more ways for me to think about things. Also, Rosary. A rosary, which would be nice for armor on anyone who doesn't have armor. It's just a fun one. I don't think there's anything over here now. Where does this lead? This leads to this island. This is an island. It is indeed an island. Oh, look at that, a chest. Some leather chaps. Is there any other... I think there's an item down here as well. Oh. We found the gang. We found the whole gang. Dang, you got the whole gang laughing. But yeah, yeah, Last Call BBS is another one of those games. It's under the guise of effectively like an old computer console from the early 90s. With a decent color support, mind you, as well, but very much, you know, it's got like that art style and a lot of homages to kinds of games of that era. So particularly, there are two solitaire games, or rather, it's like a PDA app, and it's got a very slow, like, dial-up connection to get more games, and you basically, like, you can download a game, and then you have to wait, like, 15 minutes to get another game. So just enjoy that game for what it is. You start off with a solitaire game. It's very much like the Klondike Solitaire that you're very well aware of. You've got your 7 piles where you got 1 card, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, or 7. And then a deck at the top. You draw 3 cards at a time, and you can sort of, you know, work with one at a time. You alternate colors when you're stacking cards. And then eventually, you know, you want to, you know, build up piles of ace to king for all the suits. It's basically that. The twists on this one is all the cards are face up. Not the cards in the deck, but at least the ones in the stacks are already face up, so you actually know what you're in for right off the bat. And then on top of that, the top deck always draws 3 cards at a time, and then you only you can't reshuffle that, or not. It doesn't recycle at the end. So wow, this is a doozy of a fight, isn't it? Also, wow, all these spells came out of nowhere. Holy crap, I haven't checked this menu in a while. Let's just... I want to get rid of these vampires. They're going to be absolutely painful if they stick around for too long. Or I could just keep getting my defense drained, I guess. But the other twist, though, is that once you've drawn all the cards out of the deck... Also, oh boy... once you've drawn all the cards out of the deck, the space where the deck was becomes a sort of a free space for one extra card, and you can use that as a bit of a holding ground to sort of move some things around. That being said, it is a tricky game. It is definitely a bit tricky to can't a bit fine there. It is a tricky one to, you know, make it through. But I think the game only ever expects you to beat it once. But you'll stick around with it for a bit. It's pretty alright. And then, but yeah, there's that. There's a game called, was it Dungeons and Diagrams, which is like a little kind of Picrossy style game. You have an 8x8 grid, and you know, numbers on the top, and also check it out, the Dream Ruby. It's just here the whole time. Please forgive us, Mother. If love between an elf and a human is forbidden in this life, we will be lovers in heaven. Oh, okay. Unfortunately, you gotta walk your way out. So, yeah. Although it's not too long of a dungeon. Like, at the end of the day, that was only... What, like 20... It's been 28 minutes since the castle. So we can wander back. Can I just continue to wander onwards as well? Like, maybe we can get to the next town as well. Yeah, we probably can on the way. But yeah, no, yeah, you got numbers on the top and the left, which indicate the number of cells you've got to fill in. Although, unlike Picross, it only tells you, like, the raw number. It doesn't tell you, like, how many groups and how they're grouped up. So how do you know how to solve things? Well, the rules in play is that, you're basically putting the walls down in a dungeon. There are enemies, and enemies are always in dead ends, and dead ends always have enemies. There are chests, and chests are always somewhere within a 3x3 room, and that 3x3 room is either surrounded by the border of the, you know, of the wall, the wall of the puzzle, or other walls, except for one space. There has to be one space to get out, and everywhere has to be connected contiguously, and there are no kind of 2x2, you know, there's no, like, extra space. It's like every corridor is one tile thick. Diagonals don't count. Loops can exist. That is something that sort of, like, tricks you up. I generally find some of the puzzles are a bit, how would I put it? They're a bit trial and error-y. Sometimes it's just very unclear what exactly is the next clue to keep trying. Sometimes, you know, you can get there, but I don't know, it's not perfect. I think there's some times where I'm like, oh, okay. But I think it's alright. I think it's alright. What else? There's another solitaire one, I've forgotten the name of it, but basically the symbols on the cards are very fancy. It gives me, you know, it's a very Japanese kind of symbols. A little bit free cell in style. The way it plays is that you have 4 free cells on the top, and you can drag any... So a card can be dragged only onto the same type of card. There are 10 sets of 4 of the same card, and your goal is to make that. Once you move you can move a whole stack at the same time, but you can't move, you know, say underneath a stack. And then once you move those 4 onto a blank pile or a free cell up the top, they actually converge into, you know, like a done pile, and you lose the pile, and you actually get this kind of interesting play where the game sort of narrows up, and sometimes you can get juked right at the end in a way that you're like, oh, okay. I might as well just get out of here, we're almost there. I think that one's alright as well. I did find that it's maybe not as, like, tense as the other one. They make it a little harder by making the free cells at the top locked until you do a stack in the main board, which is, yeah, it's a bit obnoxious, but yeah, it's alright. There's one game which is an arcadey style game where you got basically blocks coming down from the top, sort of like inverse Puzzle League, I'd probably say, and your goal is to match up 4 of the same icons. It's a bit cruel. There's a lot of, like, objects sort of, you know, being thrown in that you can't group up, and then sometimes things group up in ways that you're not expecting. Like, there's a lot of that, but, you know, it's alright. There's a... how would I put it? Like a Gundam plastic figurine creation game, and it's a level of patience that I don't have. And we're just gonna have to talk straight to the mum, aren't we? Here you go. That in your hand, could it be the Dream Ruby? What? Anne and the human threw themselves into the lake underground, all because I did not approve of their love for each other. Fine, take this wake dust and go back to the village and undo the curse. Anne would have wanted that. Oh, Anne, forgive your mother. Oh, they actually died. Whoops. Thanks, Shakespeare. Well, it's not too far a walk to get back, isn't it? See, now I feel very over-leveled. Are you meant to maybe I think you're meant to do this before? I don't know, though. The enemies are a bit crueler. The dungeon is a fair bit of a, you know, fair bit of work. But then it doesn't end in a absolutely absurd boss fight. So I don't know how to feel about that. Whoops. So hold on, if we go in here, and then we go into the, I think it's in the, no, it could be in... Wake dust, here we go. Throw it in the air. The wind scattered the wake dust. The villagers began waking up. Welcome to No Annuals. Oh, I remember. I was on my way to Grandpa's. I hear them. I can hear them. I hear the people stirring. Travelers, I don't know who you are, but I thank you. Oh. Well, he walked outside, didn't he? Except I think everyone's still asleep. Yeah, that was a great nap. How many years was I asleep? Ha, just joking. No one can sleep for years. What's going on here? I take a nap and waken to find the village overrun by weeds. If you have a spider web, You can slow monsters down in battle. What am I blurting out? I must still be half asleep. This is an item shop. So, these guys have some serious weapons. First of all, he's got a steel sword, which is always nice for the sword casters. We got an evade cloak, which is, I think this has the chance to actually, like, dodge attacks, which is why it's worth that much. This might be nice for rags. Maybe. And there's the spider web, so there's that. I think we've also got a weapon shop over here as well. But this is just someone's house. My son eloped with a young elf maiden and hasn't returned. I was gonna give them my blessing if they love each other. I have no idea where they are. Oh no. Don't spoil it. I was sleeping in here? Why was I sleeping outside? Why does it feel like I was asleep for ages? Ooh, that would be so terrible. Man, these riders, I tell ya. Oh, Ortega. Ortega's left. He saved me from monsters and led me back to the village. He had such muscular arms. But Ortega left alone yesterday. Oh, snap. What? You're Aliahan's hero, Ortega's daughter? Nope. Ah, I was mistaken then. Ortega stayed next door until he left just yesterday. He said he was going to Ashalam to find a magic key. I'm not sure if it was yesterday. I had this odd feeling I slept for years. I stopped for a rest while I was traveling and then, what was I doing? Anyway, I heard about a magic key when I was staying in Ashalam, a town east of Ramali. Anyway, what was I doing? Dude, that guy got duped so hard. 20 gold? Oh. Pretty sure there's a weapon shop somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe there is no weapon shop. I think also on top of that, the elves place. Hold on, can I warp there? I can't warp there. I can't warp to the elf place. But if I go back, I think they actually have that item shop open up again, which is nice. So, but yeah, then there's actual 3 puzzle games going on with Last Call BBS. 3 actual like real serious puzzle games. The first one is I guess a fast food kind of conveyor belt. Well, not fast food, but it's a food conveyor belt kind of puzzle game. You've got things that dispense food, things that need to receive the food made in certain ways, and like things that dispense the trays, and a bunch of machines that basically need to be timed together. You need to program things and get them all working in roughly the same ways using a kind of wiring system. Put some inputs with outputs. Nothing to sell. What? You're not going to sell me anything? Doesn't mean I like humans now. Well, maybe I can't buy anything just yet. Rude. Okay, well. I guess we wander off into the wilderness. So this will be a bit of a walk, and we'll probably just end up at the town rather than, you know, needing to explore too much further after that. But a bit of progress is always good. So, but yeah, the conveyor belt thing, that food puzzle, it's definitely, again, it's very much deep end. Every single puzzle seems to keep introducing new machines and new foods, and it's very hard to easily like understand quite what is happening, because it's just like, oh, okay, like this is happening here, and then okay, when do they turn on? I'll get used to it. I need to spend more time with it, but it definitely takes a bit of time there. The next one is this really neat one. I actually dig the art. I dig the art on a lot of this. I think it's actually quite a well-presented game overall. Like, there's a lot of real fun things. The next one is this, like, puzzle game with a very, I guess I'd put it, like, would I say Lovecraftian? It's just a very fleshy, like, 1992 flesh sprite, all goopy. It's hard metal, like that kind of, maybe a H.R. Geiger kind of vibe. Or it's like this kind of weird infernal machine and very dismal tones and stuff like that. I love the presentation on it. But the puzzle is that you have a fleshy blob, and the fleshy blob can stretch in various directions and then harden and turn into other kinds of materials between individual ticks. And you see the next 12 ticks happen. Like, you have a diagram showing what's happening in all the 12 ticks. And your goal is to somehow arrive at this end state. It doesn't exactly explain itself at all. You've just got to toy around with it. Yeah, it's alright. The presentation is nuts. I love it, but game's alright, yeah. Last one, really, is making semiconductors. You're literally making... Sorry, transistors, rather. No, yeah, you're making semiconductors. You basically have, like, data source A, data source B coming as, like, on-off, you know, voltages. And then, it's your goal to use N wires and P wires and regular, just metal cabling to over-under and create little transistors, and then be able to create the logic gates to pass into the outputs. Very much a classic Zachtronics just literally makes real thing. Similar to TIS 100, it's like, literally this is reduced instruction set distributed computing. And Space Chem arguably is just, I guess, chemistry, I guess. Obviously modeled into a game sort of viewpoint, but I'm like, yeah, this is very raw, very much that. So I do want to spend a bit more time really solving these puzzles. I think I probably spent like 6 hours on the game, and it feels like you probably want to spend an hour and a bit on each game. Well, maybe not the solitaires. I think you'd probably be done with the solitaires pretty quickly. But yeah, the presentation's pretty alright in this one. I think some people had some complaints about the 15 minutes per minigame before you're allowed to download the next one. And yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a presentation quirk, because it's just like, the game really doesn't, you know, it could have just let you have all 8 games right off the bat. But I think what this does is that it forces you into each game for at least a bit of time and really kind of checking it out. I think maybe people's attention spans are too short if 15 minutes is too short to understand a game, and these are Zachtronics games. They're always a bit of, you know, like, really trying to wrangle your head around things and understand them. Do I love it? Not necessarily. I think it's a very personal thing. I think different people are probably going to have different opinions on whether they really like Zachtronics stuff, and I've never truly loved any of his games. I think it's just because I feel like an idiot all the time. And his games just go so fast on the difficulty curve. He thinks of extreme examples and very intricate puzzles, and I really respect him for that. But oh boy, does he, like, you have such amazing ideas that you could pad out over an insanely, like, you know, large variety of puzzles and things like that. And he doesn't. He leaves it lean all the time. Which is always curious. Also, I don't think there's an actual, like, place to save over there, so I'll do the trek. Which will probably only be a couple more minutes, but we'll do a save here just to have a proper save. Are we close to another level? 800 is... I mean, it's closer than it used to be, because we're getting more experience per fight. but we're not in the like 100 experience per enemy kind of range yet. It's not there yet, so... Do you intend to leave yet? Would you like to take my place again for... No! He really wants that. He really wants me to just, like, get the heck out of Dodge. So here we go. So now, the trek is to the east, which they said, please don't go early, but now we're actually at that point. We're ready. And especially when they give you the hints of Ortega going east, despite the fact that he seemed to have fallen in battle. Or at least we were told he fell in battle. I guess there's that. But it's probably not too far a walk to get to the town, so... I'd probably recommend Last Call BBS. I think it's pretty alright, but yeah, it's, I guess maybe it's a little less focused, and the idea of 8 games in one, not every game is equal. I think it's very much 3 games, and then smaller ideas. Also, wild apes! Gotta watch out for them apes. The apes are loose. I think these guys do hit kinda hard, but let's see if we can get this, this mad hound out first. Monday, isn't it? I'm like, man, you know? Generally quiet chat. That's not a complaint. I'm just like, oh. It's a curious Monday. So it's been a kind of chaotic week in terms of actual, like, real world news out of here. But we did have an election in Australia, not last Saturday, but the Saturday before. I mentioned that, but that's kind of it. There's nothing really too big otherwise, so maybe we'll see some big tech news at Computex coming up. I'm looking forward to more stuff in tech. I think that tech's in a very interesting place because everyone's jobs are being replaced by AI so fast, only for us to probably realize that, like, most companies, not saying they're selling on a lie, but they're selling on something that, like, isn't really there, which is, will AI really be replacing people's jobs this quick, or is it kind of like it should be enabling people to do their work better? And that's it. And if it doesn't, then okay, like, sure, whatever. But, yeah, there's a lot of people who are doing, I think the sneaky thing is, have you seen businesses do, forced returns to office? And it's like, that is purely a way to easily cull a lot of employees in a very arbitrary manner. It's a bit cynical of me, but it's like, oh boy. These guys seem to have a fair bit of defense, I'll tell you that. Stop spell is a little annoying, but that's okay. I love the enemy designs. Have I mentioned the enemy designs? I feel like the Game Boy Color version, you know, it does its best with the detail on the sprites, but there is definitely a level of, you know, the SNES version has better sprites, and maybe even the HD 2D remake has even better sprites, so compare the designs on those ones and you'll be like, ah, very nice. There we go. That was 4 of them, 65 experience, which I guess that's the experience for one of them, because it would have been split across 4 people just then. This game would be very gnarly with 2 people, I'll tell you that. But also, look at all this money I've been acquiring. Whoa. And here we are. We're here in the town of... This town is famous for belly dancing. Enjoy. Before you even tell me the name. Welcome to Ashalam. We've made it. It must have been years ago, but the hero Ortega went south for a key. However, I think Ortega was strong enough to keep going on without having to find the magic key. I'd like to be a man like him. Did you know? No. In the Western Desert, there is a kingdom named Isis. Oh boy. Oh boy. It's such a shame that, like, you must never look like you want it. If you look eager to buy, I'll try to gouge you with higher prices. Oh boy. So they have an item shop here. What do we have in the item shop? Oh, antidotes and moon herbs. Nothing fancy there. We got weapons and armor. Where we got in the weapons and armor shop? We got chain mail, which is maybe okay, because air can't equip regular iron cuirassiers. So the bronze shield, the scale shield is back. And then also we've got, what is this? Iron... It's like boots or something? The fur hat is definitely a must get. Like, what is that? It's 10 armor for everyone. Air, it's only 8, but that's because I've got the other hat on that. But it's like, yeah, like, everyone needs one of these hats. And then proceeding to tell me that I'm gonna pay more for items, I tell ya. It's so good, like, oh my goodness. Everyone will get their lovely fur hats. And then, that's it, actually. You know, for a weapons and armor shop, it certainly sells armor. I think it actually sells different things at night. Go south through the desert and walk among the mountains. You'll find a cave and a swamp. The old man there apparently knows about a magic key. Well, we know what we're gonna do tomorrow, Ferb. Oh man, if only I had a key to open that. Also, hi, is there another shop? Ah, my friend, I've been waiting. Will you view my wares? Nah, don't be that way. Please look. Oh. Oh, and he doesn't tell you the prices. Yeah. So, this guy sells a bunch of stuff, but he doesn't actually let you know the price, if that makes sense. This black armor would actually be very, very nice for a thief as well. As well as also the skirt. There's a reason why all my characters are female. It makes this skirt very, very nice. But I think it is still also very pricey. It's also $24,000. Ah, you drive a hard bargain. I shall make it $12,000. No. If I slash the price more, I'll lose very big money, but you are my friend, so for you, $6,000. Oh my goodness, jeez. This is the final price. If you say no again, he just goes, nah. So, I believe all of these items are generally in the thousands. And honestly, I don't think this iron axe is worth it. Holy Lance, maybe. I got no wizard, sure, but the skirt is a maybe. Although 3,000's a lot, so I think this black tunic is worth like double as well. So it's probably quite a bunch, but yeah, no, it's an interesting mechanic there. We got a church. If we need the church, travelers, this is a great town, especially at night. We'll have to revisit at night. And then, yeah, we've got an item shop. This is pretty normal, although we do have a gold rosary, which is kind of interesting. Sorry, the theater doesn't open till sunset. Don't interfere with the practice session, please. Shake 'em, ladies. 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, boy. Oh, there they go. So we'll call it there. We'll record in the field log, which boots out to the menu, but we'll restore just from here on the next stream. So, but yeah, no, pretty productive stream. We've grinded for like 2 hours, and then finally fought a boss, saved well, at least this one town from sleeping, and then navigated to a desert land, all in one stream. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, you can follow on Twitch, where I stream at 8:30 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time on Mondays only. We're going to play more Dragon Quest most likely. And if you didn't enjoy it, that's okay as well. You can still follow there. If you missed part of this, the VOD's on YouTube. And if you are on YouTube, you can subscribe, because you'll see the VODs very shortly afterwards. As well as also, there's all the old VODs, so you can see lots and lots and lots of stuff. So that's all good. If you want to see terrible ramblings, I'm on the Fediverse. You can follow me at m.biendeo.com, where I will say things from time to time. If you think I should be on Twitter, I'm not posting stuff on Twitter. I only post on the Fedi mostly. But I do have a Twitter, just in case you want to do follow stream alerts there. But mostly just normal. You can also follow me on Backlogged if you want to see my terrible reviews. I guess there's that. So, anyways, with that, stay safe, eat your greens, don't stay up too late, and don't have a jester on your party. Dang it, Rags, you're letting me down sometimes.